Now,
Maryland is not just an area boss, but she's a lady. For a few of us, it's a miss. So thank you so much, Maryland. Thank you so much for inviting us. Before we
zino
proceed, I would like
zinasimuye
that NSSF team, that NSSF team, to please raise on their feet. Apart from the people in front, everyone else, raise on your feet and walk straight to the front. Just rise on your feet. This is the NSSF management that is coming on. They manage the relations, they manage your business, they manage your benefits, they manage. Please walk to the front. If you have anything that has been hurting you, anything that has offended you, anything, NSSF team, please. Okay, if you are on the NSSF payroll, the NSSF payroll, yes, because all of us are NSSF team by virtue of being members. These are the branch teams. If you have anything that needs to be sorted, it can be sorted today and now by this able management team. I just thought we needed to take off the time to just introduce them in a minute so that you know who handles who, where. They sit at the branch for the convenience of being near to you. As a customer, our employer, our member, you don't need to do the whole thing. So I will ask Mr. Magezi to lead this session in a minute for these people to get known.
I think it's good you mention your name and what you do other than mixing and the plan. Thank you so much. Just most welcome.
my name is John Leonard. I am a relationship manager. I sit at Bolobi branch. Be blessed as we interact. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Doreen Wandera, aka Nalongo. I'm a relationship manager in Bugolobi branch. You're all most welcome.
Good morning, everyone. We are really happy to have you here today. Thank you so much for making the time. I'm called Olivia Newbold. I am the Senior Relationship Manager at City Branch at Workers House. Thank you.
Good morning once again. My name is Marilyn Mwesigwa. I'm the Area Manager, City Branch.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am called Yamkama Peter. I'm the acting senior manager for the business. I sit at head office. So we are here to engage you and to structure your goals, and we shall talk morning. Thank you.
Good morning. Kanyonyo Robert is my name, relationship manager, Bugolobi. Exceedingly excited to be in front of you. Thank you so much.
Yes, good morning. Welcome. My name is Remy Tumwesije. I'm with the team at Bugolobi and I'm a senior relationship manager. Happy to see you and enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you so much, everyone. My name is Ogaraza Martin. I work as a relationship manager with NSF State Branch. Have a wonderful day.
Good morning, team. My name is Kiza Jude, Senior Relationship Manager, City Branch. Glad to have you here. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Uthman Chirunda. I'm a relationship manager with City Branch. Glad to be here and looking forward to sharing life with you. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Karara Kenneth, Relationship Manager, City Branch. Glad to have you all here.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jane Francis Nakawi Kwahira. I'm your relationship manager at City Branch. I welcome you all. Thank you for honoring our invitation.
Good morning. My name is Sandra Mugari, relationship manager, based in Bugolobi. Thank you for coming.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Duncan is my name, Taremo, Senior Relationship Manager, City Branch, and you're welcome. Hope we shall give you what you deserve. Thank you.
Thank.
Good morning, our dear clients. My name is Brenda Sinibe, relationship manager, based in Bugolobi. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mboa, and this has been very fantastic for our members to know us face by name and whatever we do. But the structure also provides for the area manager within the central region, and this is Ivan Kejetwe Hamie, who is our regional manager and is undertaking and officiating a similar function like this at UNRA, Uganda National Roads Authority. The issue of FL is part of the things that we are committed to do as a way of empowering our members. Once again, you're most welcome. Thank you, friends.
Thank you so much, team. Please clap for yourselves as you go back. Today's session is a special one. It is a 2-in-1. We use this opportunity, one, to engage you as our employee, our employer, not employee, our employer. The employer at NSSF is the customer. The employee is the member. So as our employer, one, you are here in two categories. As an employer, because you are representing another segment of employees that report to you or work with you. Then you're also here as an individual, our member. And because you are here as an individual, we'll also speak to you as an individual. But the first session is to engage you. Can we have a session where we will tell you what's happening at NSSF, then whatever you have, the good gentlemen are here to respond to it. The second one is to talk about your transition. When you leave that employment, and ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but each of us will leave wherever we are. Let me repeat this. When you got into that place, they triggered your exit, so you have to exit. And as NSSF, we want to be beyond the mandate of just picking your money, keeping it, and then paying it to you. We want to be of purpose to you, where that money actually helps you. That money becomes of purpose to you. So we are going to speak to you about transition. That's going to be our second half. But allow me to recognize, and as the session goes on, I'll keep recognizing quite a number of employers. We have Mother to Mother, we have Wired, we have Kulika, we have Tasso, we have Steel and Tube, we have Roofings, we have ICEA, we have Mistil Hotel, Mbuya Parents, we have Makerere University, we have Up Energy, and so I'll keep recognizing all these. Why? Because we're also using this to engage each other as employers. And as necessary, we are always happy to provide that platform. Allow me to dive into the next part of the agenda and to invite Geoffrey. Geoffrey is the Chief Commercial Officer. He will do the noble role of inviting our MD, but also to set the pace for the stage. So without any delay, allow me to invite Geoffrey W. Sajabi for this. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's an exceedingly profound pleasure to invite you all to this day's session. We are exceedingly passionate about our members, about our customers. And this session for us is a demonstration of that commitment, that beyond our mandate of just standing here, investment and trade benefits, we would like to play a deeper role that goes beyond simply collecting income. There is a trend that we've observed for a long time, which is sustainability of your savings at the point when you're paid. We are deeply concerned that a significant percentage of our members, regardless of how much benefit they are paid at the end of their working life, are unable to continue living the same lifestyle when they have been paid their benefits. And that speaks to the fact that many do not have the relevant financial information to continue investing and sustain their money. So we've deliberately designed a program where before we pay your benefit, we would like to engage you, we would like to support you, we would like to educate you, such that by the time you're raising that claim and getting your benefit paid, you can make better financial investment decisions. That is a commitment that we've made to the people that save with the fund. We'll soon be launching another campaign called Make Your Benefit Count. Using AI, we're in a position to tell precisely who would qualify where. And therefore, we can engage you before you actually qualify to take out your money. And we'll put you in a class for about 6 months. And the intention is that by the time you pick your money, you are wiser. You can figure out how best to invest that money. Because it would be extremely sad for us to invest for you, but as soon as we pay you, you can't invest that. I think the general perception within the public is that before we pay this money to you, the feeling is that each member is in a better place to invest their own money. They realize the bad news as soon as they receive that money and discover that they were never prepared to invest that money. Many people lose that money in less than 2 years. So that's why we can offer programs that are aimed at financial education. Sessions of this nature have been run across the country in all the 21 branches, where we gather members and we speak about money. And we hope that going forward, this will become a major part of how we create value and how we deliver the benefits of the fund. My intention today is not to speak for too long, but to introduce and invite the acting MD of NSSF, Patrick Ayota, who will speak to you about how we create value at the fund. Ladies and gentlemen, please join us together as we invite Patrick Ayota, acting MD NSSF.
Good morning. Good morning. I think I have about 18 minutes to do. Very glad to have some very eminent Ugandans. Many of you have not heard Dr. Francis Kamlegea, one of the eminent partners CPAs this country has ever had, an expert in his own right, consulted by everybody who needs it. Then we have got from insurance, real estate, and other. My introduction today is going to help you with some concept stories, and then I'll go into my lead program. This story is called Guard Your Mind. If you've ever heard it before, pretend you've not heard it before. So there were these two. There was a convent on top of a hill, and the nuns would come from the convent, go downhill to the community and serve the community. And this had been going on day in, day out. There was this particular two nuns, Sister Mercy and Sister Innocent. And there's this particular community they had been going to, and faithfully each week they would go down to the community and do what nuns do, serve the people. One day they served too long. So as they began to walk back towards the convent, it was getting a bit dusk. So they say, hey, it's late, let's rush. So they begin to walk, and as they begin to climb the hill, they look behind, and there's a man following them. So they walk on, and they realize the guy is getting closer. He's walking faster. So they pick up the pace, and they walk. They look back, and he's getting closer and closer. And they go halfway the hill. They look back. He's getting closer. Say, hey, my friend, this is tough. So they decide as soon as they get towards the hill, say, let's run. So they run. They split. Sister Mercy runs this direction. Sister Innocent runs the other direction. And they take off. And Sister Mercy runs and reaches the convent and is breathing, and so the nuns, of course, gather around her. What has happened? And she's explaining how this man was chasing them. They look behind. They don't see Sister Innocent. And they fear for the worst. What happened to Sister Innocent? And they are there waiting. Like 10 minutes later, Sister Innocent shows up. What's the name of the story? Guard your mind. So Sister Innocent comes and she's frantic, she's breathing, she's like, Sister Innocent, what has happened? What happened? And Sister Innocent can't talk. What has happened? Sister Innocent can't talk. And finally, she comes down. And she said, when I looked back, I saw that the man wasn't chasing Sister Mercy, he was chasing me. And I ran. And the more I ran, I looked behind and I realized he was actually catching up to me. So I stopped. Sister Innocent, what did you do? I stopped. And what happened? Well, when I stopped, I lifted my skirt above my head. Guard your mind. I know where you're going. That I lifted my skirt over my head. And what happened? Well, when he reached near me, he unbuckled his belt. Oh, sister, what happened? He unbuckled his belt. And then what happened? His trouser fell on his ankle. Oh, sister, what happened? And Sister Innocent, with a sly smile on her face, said, a nun with her skirt over her head will outrun any man with his trousers on his ankle. And that was the story that Sister Innocent said. Remember I told you to guard your mind. What has that got to do with financial literacy? What has that got to do with NSSF? Because we've got a lot of misgivings sometimes about the fund. I mean, Geoffrey just said one trade. Many of the people in Uganda think that they can invest better than NSSF. These are the statistics. 92% of the businesses that are started in Uganda fail. Those are the stats. We do because we are running a high innovator program. So you find somebody says, okay, he saw his neighbor buy a border. So he says, I also can do a border business. I have an uncle, I have a little nephew. He had his friend doing chapatis in Nakulavia. So he says, you know what? I also can do chapatis. So he asks, Uncle, I need some capital for what? I need to buy a sigiri, I need to get a pan, cooking pans, I need to get some flour, maybe 500K. And I'll make chapatis. I gave it to him. He opened up a chapati stand. For 2 weeks, nobody bought his chapatis. So every day would make the chapatis, go back home, eat as much chapatis as he could, give some away. At the end of 2 weeks, he folded, capital eaten, nothing. He had not even found out because he didn't realize that his friend had been there for 5 years. And over those 5 years, he had built some faithful clients. And he folded, by the way. And he started again on another business. And you find what in Uganda we do is, I start this business, it doesn't quite work, I give up. When I'm just about to learn something, start a new one. So I keep on starting businesses and leaving them. So that's why the stats are that high. Okay. Let me share with you, please, if you can show me a certain slide. I want to show you something about creating value. And it will be the next about 8-9 minutes. Are we done? I just wanted to share with you what happens if you save your money. There is a little there's a little thing there is the honesty. I think it was Einstein. So the eighth wonder of the world is what's called compound interest, interest on interest. So as soon as they can have it up, are we good? Okay, they're not yet ready. Okay, there's just one thing I want to give an illustration. What happens to your money when you put it in SF and the potential for it if you do? And I hope by the time we are done, the misgivings, what you have in your mind in terms of being better or doing other things, or some of your employers think that when you contribute money to your employee, that's an expense. Please think of it as an investment. Many of you think when we take money out of your check and you send to an SSF, that's a cost. Think of it as an investment. Why? Because it comes back to you. We are just keeping it for you for a while, and then it will be yours. Are we ready? Okay, they're still getting there. So, since we are still there, I think I can tell you another story. This one, you want to guard what? Your head? No, I won't do that one. I won't do that one. But it is really important that one of the institutions that you have today, NSF offers two things that most investments do not offer you. And this is by law. By law, NSF, you have got 10 million shillings at the beginning of the year. By law, it can only go up at a minimum. The worst that can happen to your money, by law, it will go up by 2.5%. The worst that can happen. It does not matter what happens to the economy, what happens to NSSF, how much losses. Now, by law, your money in NSF is guaranteed. It can never be you start with 10 million shillings at the beginning of the year and it goes down to 9 million or 9.5 or 9.8 by law. There is no business in this country that offers you that. NSF, on the other hand, and this is where sometimes we forget it, sometimes governments get it clever. They make it right. NSF is the only business that has said, on day one, you'll invest your 5%. You're making 100,000 shillings. You invest 5,000 shillings, which is 5%, and the government forces the employer to give you 10,000 shillings. For many of you who do finance, on day one, that's a 200% return on that day. There is no business, I don't care what is, there is no business that can both guarantee, okay, I hope you guys can see it, good. There is no business that can both guarantee you a return in terms of protecting your money, you will not lose it, and at the same time give you such a high return on day one. It doesn't matter, some of you think, I'll buy the land and sell it, you're speculating. That's not an investment. Okay, so let's use an example. So I'm going to just use this example. What happens with your money? And then we'll play with some numbers. Let's say your monthly salary is 500,000 shillings. Your 5% is 25,000 shillings. So each month out of your check, 25,000 shillings comes to an SSF. But the government has told the employer, you better put 10% that very day. It is now you have 50,000 shillings from the employer. By the way, when that money comes, it's no longer the employer's, it's your money. It's not the employer's, it's your money. But because the government has intent why they force the employer, it also has put certain rules on when you can get that money. Some people say, no, I want my money now. That's my money. Heck no, wait a minute. Unless you're telling the government, don't tell the employer to put this money in. Then you have the right to tell us, please, give me my money now. Because of that intent, there are also restrictions as to when you can get that money. So it's two ways. Now, so you are saving monthly, 75,000 shillings has come into an SSF. So at the end of the year, you've saved 900,000 shillings. Now, let's see what happens now that 900,000. And we're going to assume two things. Okay, just scroll down. We're going to say at a minimum, NSF is giving you 5% every year. At a minimum. We're also going to assume at this point in time, you are 30 years old. I know many of you are below that, many are about that. So when you turn 55, you're going to be investing for the next 25 years. Many of you are saying, 25 years, that's too long. I'll be dead. I have news for you. Chances of you being dead is only 3%. Why? We have got about 6 classes of benefits we pay today. One of them is survivor benefits. It's paid to beneficiaries of members who have passed on. Over the last 10 years, we've kept the numbers. Only 3% of the benefits we pay are paid to beneficiaries for members who have died. So chances that you're going to be here at 55 is 97%. So if you think you're going to live here, sorry, this earth is not stopping for you to get off. You're going to continue. So go back, slide on the, okay, what's happening there? Okay, I need the, can you make, yes, that side, go back, bring the balance there. Father. Okay, stop there. Make it a bit smaller. Make it a bit smaller, So, this is basically an assumption we've made. 5% interest each year. 30 years. So when you become 35, remember you're saving $25,000, 25,000 shillings. Your employer is 50,000. You'll have 4.9 million shillings on your account. At 15, when you work with 15, now 30 plus 15, you are now 45, you're ready for your midterm. You have 19 million shillings in your account. At 25, when you turn 55, you have 42 million shillings on your account. How much were you saving each month? 25,000 shillings. We've assumed 2 things. One, you'll never get a salary increment in your life. But I've balanced that with you'll never be fired either. Okay, so we are together. So we are together on that. Now, this then, if you now scroll to your right a bit, make it a bit smaller. Now, so just to give you a perspective, stop there. At the end, at 55, when you come to your money, the pot of 42.9 million shillings, you've just contributed 17%. Your employer contributed 34%. NSSF at 5% gave you 48% of that balance. At 5%. That's the value that was created by you just saving with NSSF 5% of your pay, 25,000 shillings. In totality, you put in 7.5 million shillings, but you're getting from NSF 42.9 million shillings. That's the value that we create. And yet we've assumed very minimal numbers. Let's go back and play with some numbers. Go back to the other side. I know, can you play with those numbers? Are you able to change the numbers? I'll tell you how to change. Let's go to the top. Let's go to the, that's where we want to play around. We're now going to play with a couple of things. Let's say NSSF interest, we don't give you 5%, but on average we give you 7%. So just change that number from 5% to 7%, if you can. Can you? Not the employer contribution. Leave that at 5%. I want the NSF interest. Yep. That one there. Make that 7%. Okay, let's scroll down. Scroll down. The number at 5% was 42.9 million shillings. At 7%, now that number is 56.9 million shillings. Just by NSF being able to work smarter and give you additional value. Just that. You're still contributing 25,000 shillings. But just because NSF is able to generate for you a return, now you've got an additional almost 8 million shillings more. That's called the power of compounding the value we create. Now let's go back, put it back at 5%, and we'll see. Okay, no, leave it at 7%. And let's say, okay, you figure out very quickly, you know what? I've been working hard. Maybe I'm not making 500,000 shillings. Over my lifetime, I'm going to make between 1 million and 500. So let's turn that 750,000. Go to the salary line, change that 750. But the guy is, if you want this one you can, we can give it to you and you can play with it at home. Just touch only the top part. Don't touch the rest of it. The rest are formulas, so you can actually compute. Okay, 750. That one there. Yep. 750. Good. So let's scroll down. So now the average salary is 750. NS will give you 7%. You're at 85.3 million shillings. At 750, you're contributing right around 35,000 shillings. What's my point? I hope this illustrates to you the value of saving with the fund. That when you come at 85, when you come at 55, you've at least got 85 million shillings. And remember, that was only 5% of your pay. And I can bet you, the other 95% you kept, at 55 may have nothing to show for it. You may not have anything to show. Oh yeah, school, oh yeah, you have got to, at least you've shown that along the way. So the point of it is, you look at NSSF today as the part of your financial plan when you retire. Don't look at it in isolation for what you want for your life. Look at it in the totality of your plan, and you'll be amazed, because then you can tell your employer, the law has changed that now you can increase your contribution. So instead of me giving you, taking 25,000 shillings, instead of taking 5%, employer, please top up, put another 5% that I want to contribute. Because the power of that is amazing as you go into the future. And that's what I wanted to leave with you here. Because hopefully in the process, as you guard all whatever you heard about the fund, whatever you've heard about your future, what you can do, what you think you can do, just guard your mind. This actually is a story that's more true than anything you'll ever get in that case. The highest, we just need the, and this will shock you, we just did, I think our house saver had about 4.5 billion shillings. He is still working. No, sorry. It's actually going to 7 billion. And they are still working. And they've been working, they were working at top level. We did an assessment of that money, the 7 billion shillings. Out of the 7 billion shillings, he's only contributed 12% of that. The rest came from the employer and what NSF has done in the process. So that is the power of savings. At 55, if you just plan, look at that. That's 35,000 shillings a month you're putting aside with a fund. And that's what's generating for you as a member. So on that note, guys, have fun, talk, and hopefully it will help you get to the rest of it. Thank you, Headmaster.
Thank you, Patrick. Another round of applause for Patrick. Thank you so much. He has to run, but let me just say, I have to let him go. It just makes me feel powerful if I'm the one saying I have to let him go. But he has to run. He would have loved to stay with us. Thank you so much. The power of compounding. Ladies and gentlemen, we are not here to blow the trumpet, but it's just a natural law. You give money enough time, it will grow. Just give it enough time, it will grow. Today we are going to discuss options. We're going to discuss options, but Peter, please walk up here. I feel like you need to come in and expound on the voluntary, after Patrick. What we are here to do as NSSF, we realize for us to operate at a point of purpose to you, each of our members needs to be financially aware. And we do this to make you financially aware and financially empowered. You need to be able to make your financial decisions without apologies. That's number one. Number two, we do this for you to have options over your lifetime. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I always say this. If NSSF is your only option, then you are poor. If NSSF is the only option, it's the only place where you have some money, then you are poor. So we do this to create options for you. And that is why this morning you see we have called in some of the options providers. The things we don't have at NSSF, we are saying please go and access them. ICEA is here. They will tell us some of the options. Jubilee is here. They will tell us some of the options. Within you, I was introducing the companies because some of you are providing other options. And NSSF, the ideal NSSF member we envision is one that has an option. So when 55 comes, Peter, I hope you are taking that as you get closer. When 55 comes, we want you to be conflicted. What do I start with? I have some money at NSSF. I have some money in the circle. I have some money in Provident. I have some money coming through from my rentals. I have some money from the farm. I have some money with this person. You need to be conflicted with options. That is the ideal member we are looking at. And we are going through this journey together. Our appeal. One, to you as a person, individually, you as a person, do you have those options? If you don't, can you start? Number two, can you cascade this message to the people you are representing today? Can you put it even in the interview questions? When you're asking them, they are taking up the job of finance director. You say, yes, but what options do you have? Yes, you have NSSF. Do you have any other options? You need to work with people who have options. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. I like greeting people good morning because you as employees, you have options. At the end of this month, you will get a salary. So it's a good morning. Good morning. Peter, tell us about the voluntary product, please.
Thank you, Mr. Headmaster. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, once again. Yes, Peter Byamukama is my name, and I'm the acting senior manager of voluntary business. I'm here to share with you the options Headmaster has talked about. Let me start with the figures our acting MD has shared with you, and that is your salary, the percent the employer saves for you, the percent they deduct for you, and what NSSF gives you in interest. But here you have the power to grow your saving. So you look at your salary only. We shall not project the figure. But you as an individual now, the law allows you to now be able to grow more than what you're deducting, what the employer is deducting from you currently. I would like to take this opportunity to thank your employer, first of all, for consistently saving the 5 and 10. But you have a choice to tell your employer that, look now, I am now aware I can grow my 5. Can you please deduct the extra 2 so that at the end of every month, maybe save 2, and that becomes 7 and a 10. So since you're representing the employers, we shall give the employer this tool to be able to collect on your behalf. But even when the employer does not collect on your behalf, you have a choice to save as an individual. You can grow this money, and in the comfort of your maybe employer or home, you can do it on mobile money, you can do on through the bank, you can do a standing order, you can make a payment through the Visa card, you can do all channels which shall enable you to make that saving. Now, in the amendments, the new law allows you now, you can even have another account. You can say, I have a mandatory account which I want to grow. But I also have short-term, medium, and long-term goals. How about I have another wallet, same NSSF number, but I have this, and this journey we have called it Smart Life. So very soon we shall be visiting you through your employers and telling all the employees, you are the representatives here, but we shall have a candid conversation with all the employees about all these avenues. The team that came here, these are the people that serve you in your different employers. But we shall be able to come at your premises. We can even spend a day or two, but we make sure that you have the options, you are aware, and you make the choice. So that's what voluntary is all about. You are saving as an individual, and we shall give you all the platforms, all the tools. And if you have any question right now, you can ask any of the NSF staff here, but you can also send an email, voluntary@nssfug.org. Just send an email and we shall give you all the information you need if you have any inquiries. And this just does not talk about people who are formally employed. The law also expands to people in the informal sector. You can also choose to save for someone because the law still says that any other person, even if they have transfer income means that this person does not necessarily have a saving, does not have a job, but they receive funds. For example, you may be home, or like The topic is today, what happens after your retirement, after your employment. There is a category of people that are still supported. But even when you're being supported, you can still make that saving because of that compound interest you'd want to earn from NSSF. So that is it basically about voluntary. We are available to answer all your questions, but send that email if you want more information, voluntary@nssfug.org, and we shall support you. Thank you very much, Mr. Headmaster.
Thank you so much, Peter. I thought he had to come in so that you understand that you can do this voluntarily. Now, it's an interesting name. It's voluntary. One of the things we know at NSSF is growing old is mandatory. All of us have to grow old. Turn to your neighbor and tell them growing old is mandatory. I mean, every morning you wake up, you grow old. You don't have to do anything. And guess what? The minimum qualification for you to get your NSSF benefit is age. You just have to grow old and you get benefits, your benefits, just like that. But I like the word voluntary because growing up is optional. You could have grown old, but not have grown up. The aspect of voluntary is for grown-ups. So start counting yourselves. No, scratch that. In here we have only grown-ups. Go back and start counting how many other people are grown up like you. Good morning. Good morning. I'm going to call our next speaker, but we are going to talk about transition. Say transition. It is a fancy word. It was what we knew as retirement. Until last week, he corrected us and said, no, it's not retirement. It's just transition from one life to another life. So we picked it up as transition. He's going to talk about transition. But before he does that, we have a famous NSSF anthem. Because transition is a must, you have to go. Tell your neighbor you have to go. Like, you have to leave. I like this job. I mean, this job, I hope my bosses are not hearing, but this job is a good job. Like, every day I wake up, I know at the end of, on 21st, I am going to be happy. I have already marked out that 21st this time is going to be a Sunday, so they're going to pay me on a Friday. So I love this job. But guess what? I will also have to leave. So, much as the job, you like it, it also likes you, you will have to leave. And we need to talk about these things. So let's do our anthem. Good morning. We are going to do our anthem. And it's for a few of you, you know it, the rest you will follow. When we do this, you say, here. Okay? So when I do this, you say, gentlemen, I know I'm the one paid by this job to talk, but please join me. When we do this, you say, louder, louder. And when we do this, you say, there. Clap for yourselves. Good class. Why we do this is to remind ourselves what we have here. And here means employment. There means transition. The difference between, please work with me, the difference between, louder, between, and is time. So you have to transit through time to there. Work with me. Every time you see my hands, just say there. To get? So, because all of you are here, you are in this room, that means you are? You have a job. Because you are? And because you are? You actually get a monthly salary. Isn't it? Because you are? Guys, work with me. Because you are? Because you are? Your medical is taken care of. Because you are? We know the companies we invited. All of you swipe medical cards somewhere. Because you are? Because you are? When we invite you for a meeting, we even have to feed you. We have lunch meetings, we have breakfast meetings. Because you are? Because you are? You have a title. Each of you, when you are signing in, you're a title. And we call you sir, madam. Because you are? Because you are? The banks are running after you to give you money. All you have to present is your appointment letter. Because you are. But when you get, there won't be a salary. Mr. Kamulegea will tell you. When you get, you won't have a title. I'm calling him Mr. Kamulegea, but then he was a Mr. something. He was country partner. But now he is, he's just Kamulegea. When you get the medical cards, he will testify to you. I will bring this because me, I haven't been there. The medical cards are withdrawn. It is like you stole them. Security says bring them. Because you are going. When you get, they even withdraw your ID. The ID has your name. But they say leave it with us. These things. Leave it with us. It's your name, but you leave it with us. You will no longer identify with them. Because you are getting. When you get, making it on this list to be invited for a breakfast meeting, we only have one in this room. Because they are, but getting, it's just a matter of, so what are you doing while you are still to prepare for your, using your, good morning. Mr. Kamulegea, what did you do? Allow me to invite him. I don't want to, he has a long profile, but he told me one thing. All those things are in my past. Right now, I go by Francis Kamulegea. Welcome, Francis Kamulegea.
Use the floor, whichever you feel. Thank you very much, Mr. Headmaster, sir. It is really an honor and a pleasure for me to be here. Yet actually I'm there. I looked around the audience and I got a feel of the demography. So I've structured my talking remarks to resonate to about 3 different age groups. And I really request that you pay attention because I'm going to share personal lessons, mistakes I made, things I could have done different, and most importantly, what has worked for me, but also how you can even be 10 times better than where I am today now that I'm there. The starting point is retirement, which is the word we use, in my view, is a word that needs to be retired. Simply because it's a bit of a misnomer. If you check the English dictionary, retirement means stopping, maybe receding, retreating, withdrawing. They're all backward movements. Even when you go to bed, at times you say, I've retired to bed, but in the morning you wake up. So I don't like the word retirement, and I've ended up coining quite a number of phrases at home. I tell my family that actually I was redeployed, but I redeployed myself on my own terms. I worked with PwC for 27 years in 5 different countries, and the last time was with PwC Uganda, where I was for about 12 years. Retirement age in PwC is 60, but at 55, I said, let me transition to something different. And I'm going to talk to you about transitioning. Now, when you think about our life, we have actually been transitioning. Transition is different from change. Change comes to you from outside. Even when you're driving, you get to a point where you have to change a lane because there's an oncoming traffic, because there's a pothole here, because there is some situation, and suddenly the external environment or pressure forces you to change. Whereas transition is gradual, it is a process, and if you look at yourself in a mirror and you look at your picture when you're 3 years or 10 years, or when you had graduated from university, on your wedding day, you realize that actually you have been transitioning. You may even call it changing, because you may think of the change in terms of physical appearance, but you have been transitioning in your behavior, in your appearance, character, knowledge, and it's for that reason that I say that we will transition, you will transition from wherever you are right now, in so many years from now, to another phase of life. When you think about the very good financial and wellness products, our friends and partners here, ICEA, I have a personal experience saving with them, and Jubilee, I use them on my children EduSave plans, and lots of other financial services providers. They have created an environment for us where we are going to live way, way longer than maybe our parents and grandparents. So retirement does not mean you stop work and go back to the village and sit quietly and wait to die. I hope not. Life expectancy in Uganda, if you check the latest statistics, they say it is 64 years. Now, the way that number works is that if you're born on day 0, the expectancy is 64 years. I was born in 1967. Back then, life expectancy was 46 years. I'm 55 now, so I never died. Now, anybody born today, life expectancy is 64 years, but chances are that they will live to 100 years. It's possible. Because when you think about it, what's likely to kill you now? Meningitis, malaria, Ebola, those things happen, but there comes a point when you're actually beyond them, and the hazards of maybe motor accidents, they happen. But most importantly, if you take very good care of yourself and make sure that these chronic illnesses that are the new epidemic do not get you, chances are that you'll live to 85, and most likely you'll make it to 95. The reason I say this is that you are likely to stop being gainfully employed at age 60. But you're going to live for another 30 years after age 60. So, ladies and gentlemen, you had better have a plan. Today, everything is very, very different. Improved medical care, higher levels of education, higher standards of living, mortality rates are low, and we like it, and we're enjoying it. The reason why you go to the gym, the reason why you're doing all these medical checks on a monthly, yearly basis is because you want to live longer, you want to see your children's children, and I pray and hope that you will. But you had better have a plan for that long life. In my view, planning for retirement, and I said the word retirement should be retired because it's redeployment, it's transition, it is, second half. But I'll use the word retirement because it's the phrase that probably we are familiar with. In my view, it is not about money. It is about planning for life. So you work, let's say from 22, maybe we can push it to 25 to start gainfully being employed. And then you work for 30 years, if retirement age, wherever it is that you work is 55, or maybe 35 years, if it's 60 years. And then after that, you're expected to move on to a second phase. I call it a second phase of life. And if you think of age 0 to 21, you have been a student for most of that life. And then 21 to 25, probably you are finding your ground in terms of career, if you go and do masters maybe, or trying lots of other callings. And then from 25, chances are that you are likely to have become a bit more stable and serious in terms of what you want to do with your life. So 0 to 25, student and formative years. 25 to 55, maybe we push it to 60. That's 35 years, gainfully employed and being economically productive, and then from there on, there's going to be another very long life. I've repeated this so many times because I want you to be very clear that you need to have a plan for that long life, and I hope by the end of today you'll have picked a few ideas from the various panelists and speakers, and most importantly, the very good advice we are getting from our host, NSSF. To me, the idea should not be for you to look at retirement as retiring from work. It is redeploying yourself into a second phase of very meaningful, productive, fulfilling career, and you need to start planning that even now. And the younger you are, the better, because it means you have more time. If you don't do that, then you'll not only have retired from work, but you will have retired from life. And there are statistics actually to show that people die very soon after retirement if they do not have a plan for that second phase of their life. So my advice to you is please plan to have something to retire to, as opposed to retiring from your current employment. Have something to retire to. Now, if you're 25 to 35 or 40, you have so many years before you retire, so start planning now. I like the example that Patrick gave, and in fact I have something I also did prepare. The numbers are different, but the power of compounding is amazing when it comes to money, making money, or your money working for you. So a few questions for the young people in the audience. Actually, for everyone. How much are you earning now? It's only you who knows that, and your relationship manager at NSSF maybe. I used to work, and I haven't got a pay slip for so many years, and that's another story. But I used to work in a company, actually the same company. I've been with the firm for most of my working life. But they used to give us a pay slip, and that pay slip would show the gross income earned for the year. I don't know if companies still do it. So they pay you your 1 million shillings for the month, and if it's September, they will also show you the cumulative gross income for that year. So if you're earning 1 million every month, by month 9, you would have your 1 million at the top, which they take off NSSF, pay as you earn, then they leave you with your net pay of, say, 760 or whatever the amount is. And then at the bottom, they would show you your cumulative statement, and they show the gross income earned per year. Do you guys follow? So now, if you are a highly paid senior executive, like I was, where I was, that bottom statement can be very humbling, because you look at the big numbers that are at that bottom there, then you look at your bank statement, then you look around you and you say, what has happened? Where is all this money? And you've got nothing to show for it. And the only thing that you have actually is the statement that you get from NSSF on a regular basis. So we earn more, we adjust our lifestyle, we move from Buate, we come to Nalia, then we move from Nalia, then we go to Lubowa, move from Lubowa, we go to Munyonyo, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But you had better have a plan, because even when you get 3 times your salary suddenly now and you think you're no longer fit for purpose to live in Kulambilo and you think you want now to move to Lubowa, those guys in Lubowa are not going to become your friends suddenly, because now, you know, you got a bonus and you have 300 million shillings and you think you can afford a flat in, you know, the very posh, leafy suburbs of Lubowa. Yet you've left all your former school friends you went with to Namagunga and Gayaz and in Buat. So you live within your means. There's always going to be so much social pressure which you put upon yourself, and whether you believe it or not, there's always going to be somebody who earns more than you, and it's okay. This is not a competition. You don't even know what their plan is. And in fact, there are lots of people who look up to you and they think you are okay. Yet actually, every day when you look at somebody who earns more than you, you think you're not okay. And then you start saying, this so-and-so has left me. Left you going where? And when did you set off? Together? So run your own race, because all said and done, it will be you and yourself and you alone to face whatever situation that you never planned for. So how much are you spending now? I'm speaking about you again. And how much of that goes on food, transport, utilities, medical, healthcare, school fees? And chances are that, like Apollo said, if you're here, a lot of those things are being taken care of by your employer. My message, ladies and gentlemen, is start saving now. Forget the mandatory saving, which is the 15%, the 5 and 10, but please start saving now. When I was, I think 25 or 27, I attended a financial wellness seminar, and my question to the gentleman who was training us was, how much should I save? And how much do I need before I retire? The gentleman said that how much you need will depend on your lifestyle, and most importantly, how much you spend. So everything that you end up with is a result of how much you're spending. Because the problem is really not how much you earn. Usually it is how much you spend. Because if you're earning $1 million shillings now, maybe 5 years ago you are earning 300,000. But don't be surprised that even you're poorer now than back then. And then if you wished you earned 10 million, it will happen, because it's a matter of time. And then you look back and wonder, if you get that statement, where all that money has gone. So the gentleman told us that you get your age, divide that number by 2. If you're 25, you should be saving at the very minimum 12.5%. The beauty with NSSF and the law is that you save 15%, 5 from yourself, 10 from the corporation or employer. And that is a very nice tied number if you're 30. But if you're more than 30, chances are that you're earning maybe a bit more. So if you're 40, I believe you can afford to save an additional 5% over and above the 15% mandatory. And the sooner you start, the easier for that money to build up as a result of the power of compounding, whether it is in NSSF, in a unit trust, or somewhere in a government bond. We'll hear about real estate. It's not my area of expertise, but one of our presenters today will talk about that. But my message to you is you can save more as a result of spending less. You can spend less if you desire less. And you can desire less if you think less of what others have. So you have to stop the social comparison, because you are always going to be poorer than somebody else. When I was made partner in PwC, I think I was about 34 years or 35. And when you're a partner in a professional services firm, you cease to be an employee, and because you are now part of the owner of the business. And then immediately the firm stops contributing, making contributions to you on your behalf, because you're no longer an employee. You are one of the owners of the business. In fact, you are the one who stops contributing because you don't want to contribute towards yourself. Otherwise, you'll have to contribute for all the other partners, and then we'll end up with a big problem. So for nearly 17 years, I was not contributing to NSSF, but I'd been contributing for about 5 or 6 years before I was partner. And I used, my money stayed there. And I was amazed at how that money grew without me making any contributions in a space of 17 years. I will not disclose numbers here, but I can tell you that in 2007, If I used a figure 10, I had 10 there, and in 2022, that figure was 35 times bigger than it was back then. My biggest regret is I wish I'd continued making voluntary contributions, because the guys at NSSF are the experts at making your money work for you. So, yes, you may be buying land here and there. Yes, you may be in Hass Avocado, you may be in Pine, you may be in Senene, you may be whatever it is you're in. My advice is contribute a bit more over and above the NSS monetary contributions, because it works. Let me give you an example, and this example is a bit on the high side, because I shared it with a group of bank employees, and it was a small group, fairly senior people, and I got details in terms of what was the average pay of those employees. So you can scale it down. It's very similar to what Patrick has shared here, but you can scale it down to fit within your numbers. So I told this group that if you are 35 years, because most of them were senior managers at the age of 35, earning average about 10 million shillings, of course, a month, and there are very, very few people in this country who earn that kind of money. Yeah? So NSSF, 10%, 5% is already happening, but my message to them is that actually you can afford to put away another 10%, and you can, because all you need to do is just look at your income statement, income and expenditure. Some of us are so knowledgeable about the premiership table and how many teams are, who is playing who, and how many, goals difference, and all those very fancy statistical things, and you're amazed at how knowledgeable people can be, yeah? But you ask them, let's have a look at your spreadsheet and see your income and expenditure on a monthly basis. Say, I'm not an accountant. Say, who told you? Yeah? If you're not an accountant, let your pay slip come one day when it's 2 zeros less, and you say you're not an accountant. And for that matter, you never noticed that it was missing 2 zeros. Instead of 1 million, there was 10,000. Yeah? And you didn't notice it because you're not an accountant. So you're just being in denial, you know what to do, but you're not doing it. So just do an income and expenditure monthly statement. You'll be amazed. I did it one time, and there were deductions coming off my bank account, these direct debit things, that I was never aware of. Because my wife was paying for DSTV using mobile money, and I'd set up direct debit for DSTV going back like 8 years ago, even when I was still living on my own, because my wife was not with me for some time, and that had continued for 3 years. And I'd never bothered. It was 126,000 shillings every month. So I was very upset when I saw it. Then I was also very happy, because then I went to DSTV and we got into a situation and they refunded it, and they were very, very happy to do that. So you'll be surprised how many of those standing out as direct debits, but most importantly, the kind of money that you may be spending that you cannot. But all I'm saying is that you can afford to put aside an extra 5 or 10%. So these people who are earning 10 million, I told them, if you put away an additional 10% a year, it means that you, actually I was challenging them to do 1.5 or 15%, because they have, if you're paying a mortgage of say 22%, employees in the bank are paying like 16%. So there are lots of benefits and perks, and I'll talk about that as well, things that you need to prepare for, which are going to go away when you transition. So somebody who can afford to save 1.5 over and above what they're already saving, a year that will be 1.5 times 12, what's the number? 18 million. Do that for 20 years, because if you're 30, you can do it for 20 years. Even if you're 35, you can do it for 20 years. And I'm assuming steady employment, even I'm assuming your income doesn't grow like Patrick was sharing earlier on, and you do 18 every year for 20 years, That is 320 million shillings. Just sitting there. That's your contribution. Because of the power of compounding, and I checked with Geoffrey here, NSSF has been paying on average 10% and above for the last 15 years. It's only last year that I think they paid 9.65, and in my view that was also a very good return for you members because of the situation that prevailed in the economy as of then. So I used a modest conservative annual return of 10%. I hope we're still together. So if you've saved an additional 18 million shillings for somebody who earns 10 million and you put out 1.5 times 12, that's 18. You do that for 20 years, that's 320. The power of compounding at 10% annually, guess how much you'll have at age 55? Just throw a number. It's of course bigger than 320. Give me a number. A nice round sum number. I'll give you a clue. It is 1 billion. 1 billion shillings. It is possible. Now you tell me, okay, 1 billion shillings, but for you, that is 10 million. For you who is on 1 million, it would be 100 million shillings. Just imagine 100 million cool shillings sitting there in 20 years from now, when you've not done anything. I've done real estate, and we'll hear a bit more about that. And at a very basic level, I know you make money by using other people's money in real estate and having professional people to help you with it. But I tried to do real estate using my own money, and the experience was not very good because it meant that I invested my money into property, then I had to wait 10 years to get that money back. And I was like, that can't be right. If I'd put that money in NSSF, I'd be getting 12% minimum, compounded, doing nothing. No tenant to chase, no URA issues to deal with, no broken taps and ceiling and whatever. We'll hear about real estate, but I'm a very, very strong believer now of pension funds, money markets, bonds, and liquidity. Colleagues who are between 40 and 45, you need a robust financial plan to ensure that you live comfortably when you transition from your current work. So if you are 40 and above, a few questions for you. When do you plan to retire? And remember, this retire word is in quotes. Secondly, where will you be, or what will you be doing? What lifestyle do you want to have? What is your relationship with money? Because usually we know, or we have some ideas on what to do to get money, but we struggle to keep it. Think about all the perks, the benefits that you currently get at your job. And those are the ones that Apollo talking about when you're here. Can you live without them when the job goes away? Or do you have a plan on how you're going to avail them to yourself? There are jobs and corporate titles that make us lose our identity. And I was very, very deliberate and intentional from the very beginning when I made my decision to move on early, that I now had to be very deliberate in terms of distinguishing who I am from what I do. Because many of us lose our identity with a job. And how many of you, and you don't need to do this now, but these are things that you just need to start preparing yourself and practicing. That can you talk about yourself without talking about what you do? Because the moment you turn up, yes, Patrick, he's gone. He's a good friend of mine. Patrick Ayota, deputy managing director, deputy or acting or managing director, immediately, yeah? But he's a father. He's a Christian. He's a certified public accountant. He's so many things, yeah? And I'm not having... okay, I think it's the best example to use because he's a good friend of mine and also he's the host here. But think about it. Can you talk about who you are without saying and telling us what you do. Because you see, if I say, I have two questions for you, and each one has 2 minutes. The first question is who you are. The second question is what you do. And each one will have 1 minute, 30 seconds, who you are. The second 30 seconds, what you do. You will struggle. And that's okay, because you've never been in a frame of mind where you have had to speak about yourself without what you do. In fact, when you start talking about yourself, and there are very proud parents here, there are people who are leaders of Christian communities, Akabondo in your parish, but you think, oh, you can't say that, this is corporate, those are personal things, you cannot say them here. Guess what? When you transition, that is most likely going to be your identity, and you had better start becoming comfortable with it now and actually being normal and human, as opposed to just fronting the title. I would like to think that us in private sector should do and be better prepared for that transition than our friends in the public service, and especially the politicians, because they really, really struggle. They do struggle. Because when they turn up, it's recognition this, recognition this, recognition this. The one thing I told my friends in PwC even before I'd left, I was like, I should never be referred to as a former. Former is Eyali. Eyali. And then what happened? Because the moment you say, he was the country senior partner of PwC, then the next question is, then what happened? Nebamugoba, Nabba, yeah. Oh, no, and then he retired. I mean, that's a story. Yeah, who cares? You were former. We want the one who is here now. He's the one who matters to us. So you are also going to be challenged to have a role and make sure that you have some identity, an identity that is beyond your job title. So do you have an identity or personality that is different from you and your job title? If not, maybe you don't need it, but chances are that you might need it. So, my advice, friends, plan for a very long, prolonged retirement, if we were to use the phrase. Involve your partner and spouse in whatever it is that you're planning. I had a very interesting personal experience where my children, when they're at school, they talk about my father, he's the head of PwC. Oh, then they say PwC building when they're in Dubai, when they see in South Africa. Yeah, that's where my father works. Oh, he's the owner. Yeah, I was like, eh? And then suddenly, so now how do I explain to my friends? Because you see, they also have their own social groups there. So you have to share this with them and get them prepared and also involve them. You think that you retire or you transition and you spend more time with your family. Do they even want to spend more time with you? I don't know. Do they? We saw it here in lockdown when we were all in each other's space. Deal with the debt, ladies and gentlemen. Some of us have so much debt and we have nothing to show for it. And like Apollo said here, salary loan, I was coming and I had an advert on DFCU, I think they're in the next building. They give you 250 million unsecured salary loan. All they want is the letter from your employer and your monthly pay goes into their bank account. So, if you don't have that letter anymore, and also you don't have that monthly pay. So, go through your own portfolio now in terms of assets. I went through that process and I did what I call decluttering. At times we just have so much stuff. Somebody turns up and says, oh, there are 40 acres of eucalyptus in Muwende. It's on the main road and it's good. Yeah, you go, borrow. You're from Kalisizo like me, then you go to Muwende and you buy. And then your daughter, I don't know who has ever asked their daughter or son that you get into the car so that we can go to Busunju and you see, the square mile that we're planning to learn. No, they're not interested. So you get to a point in your life when you have so much stuff, the children are not interested, your other family members are waiting for you to die so that they can take it. That's the reality. Especially for those of us who have got 4 girls, and I've not spared any pennies in educating them, but I'm being very realistic in terms of what they are going to carry on when I move on and what they are not. So I try to be as light as possible, have as much liquidity, and give it to NSSF, Jubilee, Prudential, Bond, Government of Uganda bonds, and do not get encumbered with 37 land titles in all the SAZAs of Sabasaj. I want to conclude by telling you that, to me, this story about retirement, transition, whatever you want to call it, is about financial independence and financial freedom. It is about having the power to be in control of your life, using money as an enabler. If money cannot buy you happiness, I think it can buy you the key to happiness. So it is important to work very, very hard in your early years and ensure you have financial freedom. But most importantly, you must know what is enough for you. So how much money do you need when you retire? It depends on how much you want to spend when you retire. So in conclusion, for those of you who are eyeing the midterm access or the full access at age 55, my advice is don't take that money unless you have a plan for it. That money is in good hands. Earning money when you're sleeping, making money for you when even you don't know it is making money for you. If you've never done anything and you've been very, very busy, being busy with your business in the corporate world, never run a shop, never even run a salon, never even did a rental unit, and suddenly you think that at 47, at 55, at 58, you are now going to start a real estate business. Let's wait for the expert who will tell us about that. Yeah. So it's okay if your plan is to take that money, but please have a plan for it. The truth of the matter is you will transition from your current employment to another phase of life. You are going to most likely have a longer period being out of work because you're going to live longer than your father and your grandparents and great-great-parents. So if you're 35, chances are that you live up to 90, but you only have 25 more years of gainful employment. Please use that time wisely. I have a lot of personal stories I can share, but the final one I can say is that yes, I took my money from NSSF and I paid off a debt which I'd taken to construct a vocational training institute, and that's in Masaka. And I'd even shared some flyers here for those of you who are from that part of the country, but it's actually a very modern institute that is attracting learners from all the country. It's not only commercial, but also it's something that to me gives back to the community. And if you're going to retire, chances are that you may be a continuer. That is somebody who was an accountant, then sets up his own small firm and continues as an accountant. You may be an adventurer, which I describe myself. I've left accountants and finance and I've gone into education. I'm into farming and I do lots of other things. But most importantly, also you need to think about creating new networks beyond your work environment. Because these friends of yours here, these Apollos and all these other people you've seen here, the moment you leave, I was the head of the farm, and I'm not saying that anything that wrong happened there, but I had to give in the identity card, and then my security access had to be disabled, because that's the way the system works. And then I was given 2 weeks to hand over the laptop, and then later on, I was being closed out gradually because you stay with relationships with clients and audit and assignments, but after 1 month, and that was actually a very extended period for me because I was the CEO of the firm, I was completely locked out of the network. And that's when you realize that you have moved on. And if you haven't realized that you've moved on, then the system is actually telling you that tukulabyeko, bye-bye. So there's hope and there's life after the 8 to 5, but please use your time now to plan for it. Because if you don't, you'll live such a very miserable life, and it will be such a sad way to end, because you worked so hard so that you can live happily thereafter. And I thank NSSF and the team for organizing this seminar. I have a lot of personal experience and stories I can share on a one-on-one if anyone is interested, but I know where I'm going. I visualized it 30 years ago. I continued on that track for the rest of that time, and I think I want to say that maybe I happen to be a bit of a good example to many of the other people. That's why I get to be called back here when I don't even have a title. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and I thank you for listening to me. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Another round of applause. I mean, this gentleman here, one of the things I really dreamt about was working in PwC. And when they sent those people, the recruiters, and we went for the whole Makerere University hall, that main hall you go for interviews. Of course I failed, that's why I never worked there. But we wanted to, but now I can say I have also made it, because I've hosted it. But key thing to note, there is life after. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much. There are a few things he left out, and I take it upon myself to make sure that they come out. One of the things I had asked him to do this, was he set up that vocational institute. It's a world-class vocational institute. I had asked him to come with flyers, and my team is distributing those flyers. Please, one of the things as NSSF that we can do for you, your business, is advertise it. Because when your business grows, we also grow. So I am standing in his footsteps right now, and I'm the advertising manager. Take your children. Take your relatives. There are those people who you don't want to pay school fees for. They are someone's child in the village. You bring them, they will make something out of them. He's available to do that. I mean, when you're taking that child and you tell them this vocational institute is by the former country director. Former. It carries weight. So please. But there is one unique other thing. And I don't know why he never says it, but let me say it, and I'm trying to face away from him. If I see most of us are parents, and it is incumbent on you, it's obligation to take your children out. Anyone has heard of time to play? Time to play? When you find the mascots there, the person behind the mascot is Francis Kamlegea. He designed his retirement, and he's doing things he likes. Time to Play is one of his establishments, and he put it. Let me share this story about him. When his children came from Europe, I wish you could also be at one time standing and saying those examples. When my children came to visit from Europe, so when his children came to visit from Europe, they asked him to take them to a park. So he asked someone, take them to a park. And the person asked, park in Kado or park in Pia? So he realized that in Uganda we have no parks. You know those parks we see in the movies? So he started Time to Play as a park. So you want to take your children to a park? Time to Play. And when you are there, tell them, I know the owner, Francis Kamlegea. Thank you so much, Francis. Please give him another round of applause. Another round of applause. Thank you so much. You indeed inspire quite a number of us. I have picked a few things, but I will just put two in practice. Get on your feet. It is healthy. Let's get on our feet. Reintroduce yourself. Move around, move away from the desk and move to someone and introduce yourself. Tell them, I am this. I am a father. I am Owakabondo. I am with Mothers Union. Hey. If you run short after the first 10 seconds, there is a problem. Who are you and what do you do? It is healthy. Let them know you. As Jubilee comes near me, Jubilee, let them know you. Let them know who you are, what you do, and take a shot of not using your workplace. Hey, and see if you hold water. Jubilee, please come close. Jubilee. Thank you so much. We can take our seats. I hope you are satisfied and you thank you. We can now take our seats. I hope you are satisfied and you actually are convinced that you hold water outside your workplace. Allow me to use French. Owera. Jubilee. Jubilee, please. Thank you so much. Thank you very, very much. Allow us to go to the next item. Our next item is about options. It's about options. Allow me to share a story around options as I prepare to invite the panel. About 9 years ago, when I was beginning a career in investment with an investment management firm, I was their business development manager there, and my role was to talk to anyone who is 100 million and above. So if you have never met me before, now you know. So I was talking to people with 100 million and above. And one of them was retiring. So this lady approaches me and says, I am retiring. She had worked with Stanbic for 32 years and she was going into her retirement. She came to me. I was the one supposed to tell her where to put the money. But she came to me with a plan. During her lifetime, every time she would get her bonus, she would buy a treasury bond every time. So she had done that for 20 years. And at retirement, she had options. So she started with the first option. She picked her NSSF. The second option, she picked her Provident Fund. Third option, she liquidated all her bonds. She had also gotten on mortgage 2 flats in Bukoto during that lifetime. 32 years is a good time to work and working with a bank. She sold both her flats. She had another rental in Luzira and sold. She came to me with her money, with a plan. Now, when she told me she had sold her house, and I don't want to bias you because the real estate person is coming, I was in shock. Who sells property at 55? She was 58. Who sells property? I mean, people pick their money to go and buy and build property. You are selling. Then she told me, at my age, I am not going to run around with tenants. Then I had just started a unit trust. I started it, but I also didn't know how it really operated. And she told me, putting this money in a unit trust, and NSSF, we are exploring that route also. Putting this money in unit trust, which had come to about 800 million, you will be giving me between 8.2, then the interests were really good, to 9 million per month, and that is net. She retired at 5.6 gross. In her retirement, she was receiving 8 million net. This just got me thinking. What do we need in retirement? Which options work for us? Now, that option works for her. Up to now, she's still receiving. Now, I think it's about, she has added some money because she can't consume her money has since become $1 billion. She can't consume the entire 8 million in her retirement. So she has to create excuses like quarrel with her children so that she can make up with them by giving them some money, things like that. That's how she's spending her life. She's receiving this money and she's happy. But what options do you have? So today we want to explore some of the options. And Francis talked about Jubilee. I've called them, they're not coming, but maybe we'll get another chance. But allow me to invite our moderator for this session on options. Florence Nabachibi, please clap for her. You're not eating. I get hard time introducing her because I can't, once I say Florence Nabachibi, I have to say she works with ICEA. So, and we have been told we need to move away from that slowly. But Florence works with ICEA as the assurance manager. They also run an annuity fund, and she will tell us more about that for your benefit. An annuity is when you get paid for life. You get paid for life. Florence, thank you so much for coming. We have someone on the fixed income. So when I talked about that person liquidating and putting her money in a unit trust, it belongs to one of those classes, but it's not my industry to talk about, but we have an expert. This man is in charge of over 80% of your money at NSSF. Ibrahim Buya. Again, I'm holding myself back from using all the other things. I will let them introduce themselves, and we see how far they can go without the other words. There's another gentleman, real estate. We can never leave out real estate because it is a darling of anyone transiting, anyone retiring. It's a darling. Mr. Agaba. Mr. Agaba has been the chairperson of the Rio Estates Association, the brokers, Babroka. He has been their chairperson, and he's here to talk about those opportunities in real estate. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome these gentlemen to this panel. And our discussion is going to center around what are the options, practical and relevant options that we can take up. I have talked about the person, my experience with that person. What is yours going to be? We say all these things for you to form your own mind. But allow me to say this as they come on. All of you are going to receive your benefits. And your benefits, the minimum qualification is your age. Just grow old and you will get your money. But understand that your benefits will locate distant relatives. Just because you have gotten your benefits, all of a sudden you will be someone's son. Someone will call you from the village and say, you know I am your father. Your father died long time ago, but now they are your father. They will locate distant relatives, but you are not obliged to share your benefits with them. They will increase the number of dependents. One of the surveys we are about to launch in that probably the next year will show you that people have more dependents in retirement than when they're in active employment. But be reminded of your nuclear family. Your benefits are going to amplify you as a person of possibilities. You will probably see that you can do everything. You can look at the building in Kampala and you can see you can afford it. You will see all the possibilities. But please, you cannot do everything at once. Retirement is long. You may ask, your benefits may ask you to settle scores. For a very long time, you've been seeing, allow me to use my boss's example. You've been seeing your boss driving a Land Cruiser, and you said, I need to drive that Land Cruiser at one point. So you get your benefits, and you go buy that Land Cruiser. Please, desist. That's his journey. There's something Francis said. You can spend less if you think less of what others have. Your benefits will trick you into normality. They will trick you into thinking that what you have, the 1 billion you have gotten, the 200 million, it's normal business as usual. It is money you handle every day. and you think it is normal business. No, it is a one check. It doesn't come twice in a lifetime. So, zap yourself back to reality and be selfish. Think of yourself first. I don't know if it's good advice, but I'm picking it from be slow. The opportunities will never run out. Be okay. When you lose out on a deal, you won't die. But when you lose your benefits, you might actually die. Florence, these people want to talk about transition. Take it away.
Thank you very much, Apollo. Good morning, everyone. I'll just introduce myself again. Florence Navachivi is my name. I work with ICA Lion Life. We are good partners with the fund, and we're always honored to be here. I have some colleagues in the audience. I would just like them to stand up and wave. I've had people asking me about our products. So the team from ICA, please just stand up and wave. Yeah, we are delighted to be here. So I'll ask each of the panelists to briefly tell us what they do. Then I'll also speak briefly on the annuity. Then we go to the questions. Apollo had advised there were some questions from the audience as well. I guess we'll handle those last. So I'm going to start from my extreme left, Mr. Ibrahim Buye. Kindly just tell us what you do at the fund. I saw something fixed income, but I know most of us here are lay people. We don't know what that means. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Morning, everyone. My name is Ibrahim Buya. I work at the NSSF. I've fallen into the trap that he's just mentioned earlier, that it's hard to talk about yourself when you can't talk about what you do. So I do manage the fixed income portfolio, which is basically management of debt securities that NSF invests in. And yeah, that's what I do for a living. I'm also a teacher. I promote the profession for people who do this kind of stuff. So there's a professional course we run called the CFA. It's a bit celebrated around, and I am one of the people who prepare the gentlemen and ladies who sit that exam. But also, I'm a farmer as well. So I've been doing farming since when I was a boy, a child, and I've continued farming up to now. So that is it, and I'm glad to be here to share what I can share with you today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So on my immediate left, the gentleman who's been bashed the most on real estate, Mr. Agaba, please give us a brief of what you do.
Thank you very much. My name is Vincent Agaba, and of course, Director Francis. I will say Old Mutual, because he's still a director of Old Mutual, so I think that's something that has not been mentioned. Our hosts, NSSF, and I thank Jackie for finding me. Where is Jackie? You know, some of us, we are out there, but it's very important that someone knows that you are there and brings you here. So I thank you, Jackie, on behalf of NSSF. Francis, Director, my story is different. I came from university at 26, and I didn't transition, but I went direct into the mud. So I started the company, Avat's Housing Limited, and we are in the business for 16 years. And I think why we started that company is exactly the reason why people fear real estate. Collecting rent, struggles with tenants, so we said let's start a real estate management company that can handle tenants, repairs and maintenance, looking for tenants, and all the issues that are associated to managing properties. So 16 years, we have 340 towards 400 tenants in the buildings we manage. We are in Kampala, Jinja, and Fort Potro. So we have about 50 investors in those portfolios, both from commercial, residential, and hospitality, where we are sitting in these hotels. So my experience in managing real estate, I want to mention that I'm also a board member of Habitat for Humanity. That is the other end of civil society to deal with housing issues in the country. I'm also the chairperson of the Governing Council of the Real Estate Institute of East Africa. That is the institute where we train real estate players and those who want to enter in the industry. I also was one of those who designed the bachelor's degree of real estate management, and now we are working on the MBA and MSc real estate at MOOBS. So we have graduated students in real estate for the last 10 years. So, and of course, our moderator mentioned I'm a founding president of the Real Estate Association of Uganda, whereby all the players, Knight Frank, Property Services, NSSF, some of them are members because we want the industry to be good. So I wanted to give that background for people to understand that real estate is a sector, it is a business, and as we dive in, just have that context so that as you want to transition to it, you know it is more than just something you throw in money. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll start with a quote from Will Rogers. He said, "Half our life is spent trying to find something to do. With that time we have rushed through life trying to save." And that resonates a bit with what Francis was saying. And by the examples he gave, I want to confirm that they are true in terms of him really being vested in insurance products and taking that very seriously. We are so proud of you. So I'll go to the first question, and I'll start with Ibrahim. What options are available for young people in terms of looking towards the future? Because we've been told to start now. So what options are available for them to prepare for that time of transitioning?
Thank you so much. So it's a very broad question that one would have to respond to in quite a good amount of time. But I'll try as much as I can. So what investment options are there? It's wrong for me to begin telling you that do this, or choose this, and choose this. The determinants of what path you have to take to invest your money are very many, and most times they are highly personalized to you. But they are guideposts, nevertheless. And what I'm going to do is to just give you some guideposts in which where you have to lie. It starts with a clear understanding of what you want to be at the end, you know, or what you want to have, as they mentioned many the previous speakers. What is it? How do you want your retirement to look like? What's the plan? What do you plan on spending? Mr. Kamlega mentioned that quite extensively. In our language, the one that makes us earn money, we call it the standard of living risk. What's the goal? How do you want your retirement to look like? Do you want to be someone who is begging your children? Or do you want to be independent in that you're loved as a grandparent? Because when you have money as a grandparent, the grandkids visit you. If you don't have, they will actually be so far from you because they are worried when they show up, you're going to ask for money from them. So it starts by defining clearly, what do you want your retirement to be like? Yeah? What do you want your next 10 years to be like? Once you've done that, then the options are the tools or basically the channels that will get you there. The worst bit is that, as we are here today, is that most people are asking, what's the option? So you want that option to just go for it. But what is it meant to do for you? Do I make sense? It starts from that clear definition of the end. Then you decide how you're going to move to the end. So investment vehicles that they are going to sell to you, that we are going to mention, that we are going to promote, are just one of the channels, one of the routes, one of the paths to getting to the end. Nevertheless, I will hint that at different stages in your life, you can afford different amounts of risk. What do I mean? You can afford different number of falls. How many times can you fall and stand up? Maybe when you're a baby, you could fall 1,000 times. When you become 15, maybe 100, 200 times. When you become 30 and you have a family, it's very hard for you to declare to your wife that, you know what, baby, the names you use these days, I got our money and it's not around, it's gone. So you can't take on so many falls. When you're 55, I mean, I think you can hardly take on a fall, more so if your purse is very small. Yeah? The size of the purse determines how much options you'll have in life. So the point here is that at early stages in life, you can pursue risk. Most of the people I'm seeing here, you're in your mid-careers. You can afford to pursue risk. Learn things and fail with them. But also, if one is so right, it may be so nice for you in the future. So the options that we may talk about, I'll define them in terms of risk. The stage you're in terms of life, you can afford different amounts of risk. And by risk here, we are saying the possibility of failing and you stand up again. So at early stages, younger people, we define younger people in our profession as people who are below 35. Why do we say that? That maybe the pressure of the kids' education isn't massive yet. And perhaps you have a home, but not the dream home, but the startup home. So early in life, you can take on things that can afford you to fall, but also when they go up or when they succeed, they are likely to succeed big time. Those are things, for instance, I could give broadly. Defend him, Roland. Those who invest in Roland. It's a very easy example. Roland, when properly understood, and Roland I mean that you've not put on anything, because once you develop a property on land, you change its risk profile. Yeah? You change it from something that gives you growth, capital gains, to income. Yeah? And that is most of people who are looking who are retired or looking for revenue sources. So the easiest example is Roland. The other example I could give, technical one, which is investing in stocks, for some of you who are aware about this. When you invest in a stock, every night you don't look at where the price was, but you invest and put their money and let it be there. So for younger people broadly, the thing I could say is that you must pursue risk. The excess of that money that you have should not be put in things that don't have big opportunity to grow. But as you grow, you must de-risk, more so if you want wealth enough. And by wealth, I am meaning that you have excess money, money that meets your lifestyle, and you still have something else. I don't mean how much you have in total. If you have 100 billion, but the 100 billion can't satisfy your lifestyle, you're not wealthy. But if you have 100,000 shillings, but can make you happy, you're wealthy. So that's the sort of thinking. So early in your life, you can pursue risk, but as you age over time, you have to do risk. I think we'll look at that over and over again. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll move to my neighbor, Mr. Gaba. So for many of us here in the room, you're working, you're young, you don't really have money for real estate, and yet it's something that you admire. You want to return, you have something to show, as Francis mentioned. So what is the best time to get into real estate? And also, how does someone who doesn't really have money, because many of us, as you work, you spend the money you've actually gotten. So what is the best time to get into real estate, and how does someone prepare themselves for that period of time if they intend to depend on real estate for retirement?
Thank you very much. I had made a presentation, but I think it won't be able to be put on the screen, so I will just highlight. I will tell a story for me how I ended into this, because I was in Uganda Martyrs University in 2004, and we used to play football. So what we would do, the football pitch was down near the village, but you know, when you're in university, everyone comes to visit you. Sometimes they leave you with 50,000, another one leaves you with 100,000, and so forth. So for me, when I was playing football, I was playing with those guys in the village. And I was the minister of sports that time, of the university, the guild. So, lucky enough, one of the children we were playing with happened to have a grandmother. And that grandmother had a piece of land to sell. So I went to her and said, look, I think this university is going to grow. That was my thinking. They will need hostels, they will need some teachers' accommodation, lecturers. So I was there spirited. So the old woman, when she saw me, she said, where are you coming from? I said, I come from Fort Poto. She said, oh, Mpakoyao. She started, what's your pet name? I said, I'm Arali. I said, okay, fine, how are you? So I said, what are you selling? She said, you know what? I have a piece of land here, I need to sell it. And she told me that time it was 1 million. And that was a lot of money for me. But I told her, I said, you know, I want land. And that time I remember a priest had come to visit me and had left me with 200,000. I gave it to her cash. Now, I was already a landowner at Uganda Martyrs University. So now, once I deposited 200,000, I was on pressure because every time I was playing football, this grandchild was with me and I had to pay the debt. So every Monday, I know my friends were going to, we had that massacre, there was a club. Every weekend, people would go that side, others go to Nabugabu Beach. Every coin I had to clear that 1 million. I had a piece of land. Now, to my surprise, when I left Uganda Matters University, I went to the Netherlands to do my other degree. Immediately after 2004, I transitioned to the Netherlands. Actually, I didn't graduate. When they were graduating, I was in class in the Netherlands. So I spent there 2 years. Coming back, I went back to my land. Now, I'm going to tell you this story so that we know what happens. To go check on my piece of land, I found a fence, and actually they were cattle grazing. I was shocked. I said, hey, this old woman maybe was looking after my land. To ask her, she said, you know what, I had a problem. I had another problem, but there was another buyer who wanted land from me, but they didn't want behind. They wanted in front where yours was. So I decided to sell them yours, so that when you come back, I give you another one. And remember, for me, when I was buying that land, I knew my mathematics was on the main road. You know, location, location, location. That is real estate. Location, location, location. So now, the issues of land issues start. So I said, what do I do? So I was quick to think, okay, fine, I don't want any problems, so give me a bigger one behind to compensate for the value of the front. So I went out of the conflict. She gave me actually, I remember it was 25 decimals, the one I had bought. She gave me now 30 decimals to compare with the 5 decimals for losing my value of being at the front. I said, it's fine. I quickly ran, got the title, fixed it. I can tell you after 10 years, I went back. I kept going there, planted some trees, people are disturbing me here and there. I sold the land for 1 million plus a bit of land title processing of about 1.5. I sold it 35 million shillings. Now, the question is buying land a problem? I don't think so. What should we young people do? Remember, I had 200,000. But we go out to Angenois and blow 1 million in a weekend. And I can tell you, even in Uganda today, there is some land somewhere which costs 500,000 Uganda shillings. So the point here is, real estate is a business whereby you have to go to the mud. You have to go to the bush. Some of us, we want to start buying land from Kampala Road. You're starting, but you want to own a plot on Kampala Road. That's not possible because it's a high capital intensive. So what I'm telling ourselves is that the other things you can look after for is, for example, what we do, Avat Housing Limited, we do management of properties. I can tell you the cash flow I get now by the percentages I get from managing the buildings of others is equivalent to owning a block of about 30 apartments on somewhere around the CBD. I don't own an asset of the building. I offer a service of managing buildings. So that is another option. So there's an option of buying land, I have just told you. There's an option of offering a service. The other option is being an agent. We call them bar brokers. I can tell you some of the brokers we are talking about in this market are far rich than some of us who are sitting in employment. The only challenge with the brokers, what we tell them, is the issue of expenditure. Because you make a deal of 1 billion today or 2 million or whatever it is, the next thing, the destination is Kabalagala. And you leave half of it there. That's why you hear them all the time when they are calling you, halfway the conversation, the phone is off, no airtime. So that's financial discipline. It is not the problem of the business, it is financial discipline. So, but we have networks. We belong into old school associations, we belong to circles, we belong to church association. Just an agent is knowing that you need a house to rent, and they know the landlord who has the house, and they match the two of you, and they get a commission. This is the same thing which insurance agents do. So ladies and gentlemen, that is another option. The other bigger option is development, which all of us we want to go in. Real estate development. I think director here, Francis, will tell me that is a high capital intensive adventure. And number two, we need to do something what we call feasibility studies. By traveling to Dubai and you see a nice building, and because you have just accessed your money from NSSF, and you say, I want to build that type of building, and you come and put it up. One thing I can tell you, once you have locked money into concrete, it is very hard to liquidate. Or if you start and you just reach halfway and you don't finish, you're finished as you have not finished. So my advice is, let us do small and finish it. This takes me to other aspects in life. The biggest investment we make in our lifespan is owning a home. So a home is at the center of our investment. So all of us here automatically we become real estate participants. But we deny it every day because we think that that one who really is an investor is the one who puts up this mall or this hotel. If we go to the hospitality side of the real estate sector, you don't have to build Mistil and run it as a hotelier. Most of these hotels are run by franchises. Sheraton does not necessarily own the building where it runs. The brand Mistil here, it is not necessarily the owner of this hotel. So an investor built the hotel, got a brand that is good at running hotels, and they are running the hotel, and they are paying them rent. So we need to understand these things. But what do we do for ourselves? We get money, we build a hotel, and we also want to run it. But we don't have the expertise. Protea Hotel, this is a franchise from South Africa, but we know the owner of the building. They get the brand to come and run the hotel. So I would like to suggest that as we get into the real estate business, those outcries you hear outside there, it is us trying to invest and trying to do everything. So if you want to build houses, build them because you're good at building, but give them to a manager who is good at managing them, and get your rent on your account, and leave the hassles of repairs and managing the tenants to the expert who is concentrating on that level. That's my advice. But if you want to build the houses, manage them, and at the same time you're fully employed somewhere. Imagine you are in the middle of writing a report and someone is saying there is a leakage on the roof. And then you call a plumber and the plumber says, actually I'm reaching there and I have the spare part. And you send money by mobile money to the plumber to buy the spare part. And the plumber will go actually and get a used spare part from somewhere and fixes it. Because you are fixed in the employment, but you also want to manage the building. You will lose money. So, ladies and gentlemen, real estate is a good business. But what I want to conclude with is, you can't succeed in real estate if you are looking at it only as cash flow. What we do in real estate is we find a solution. We are providing housing. Remember in COVID-19, all of us, when we were switched off, we were said, go home. So we who are in real estate, we are not there only for cash. We are also there because we are solving a community problem. People need decent housing, and someone must do it. Like any other business. If you are in agriculture, you are going to produce food not only for money, but to make sure that you make your contribution because you are a natural person created to leave the world better than how you found it. So you're not building houses only for money. You're building houses to ensure that people in Katanga one day live in a good environment. So there is that satisfaction which you can't put value on. So for those who want to participate in real estate, I would like to invite you to think about money, but also think about your contribution to country Uganda, to Africa, to ensure that Ugandans live in places where there is no garbage, where there is no drainage that is spoiling everywhere, where there are no potholes, because 60% of the road networks in every country rotate around housing. And it's only 40% that goes to highways. So when we invest in real estate, we are solving the infrastructure problem of the country. Last but not least, forgive me, is that we have rural-urban migration. Where are the people going to live in the next 30 years? All people are moving from the rural areas, coming to the cities. Where will they play You hear director here has invested a place for children to play. That is real estate. Where should our children play? We need recreation places. Where should we meet? We need hotels. Where should we study from? We need schools. Where should we go for hospital? We need buildings for hospitals. So real estate is not about only what you retire with in terms of cash, but also your contribution to make the world a better place than you make it, or how we found it. Thank you.
Thank you, Vincent. So before we go to the next question, since we are talking about options, I'm going to briefly talk about the annuity plan. To some of you, it may be a new concept, but it's not a complicated plan. So an annuity plan is a product that is offered by an insurance company. We do offer it at ICA. And the problem it solves for someone who is transitioning in that state is that it enables you to continue living the same life that you are living while you are in employment. So how this plan works is that you have a continued income flow every month for as long as you live. So as insurers, we're able to do mortality projections, and we're able to tell that people in retirement will probably live up to a certain age. So with the product, without you even working or having a stop of when the money will end to drop into your account, you have a monthly salary every month for as long as you live after retirement. So you'll find that for that product, we have a minimum entry age. So we don't give it to young people, meaning that if you're young, at that time you should be accumulating funds. Then once you've accumulated your funds, you've cashed out your NSSF, or you've sold a building, whatever, you bring the lump sum to the company, and then you're able to get an income every month. So that will sort your cash flow issues in retirement. The product also has a medical insurance benefit. Most of you are used to having medical insurance given by your employer. Remember what we talked about? Medical cards are withdrawn, IDs are withdrawn, everything. So with the plan, at least, you know you'll have a salary. Every end of month, you'll get a message. And then you'll also have a funeral benefit, just in the event that you pass on. You'll have a decent send-off, basically. So that's the brief about the annuity plan. But without having contributed for it during your working life, you'll not be able to buy it because it takes money to buy. So we'll move on to the next question. I had actually wanted to pose this question to Francis. So we have many young people who are joining the workforce, and they are not really moved by planning for retirement. So you have young people in a room, or maybe you're even conducting interviews, and when you're talking about benefits, retirement is too far. They don't even think about it. So I'll give you an example. One time we were meeting with one of our partners, a client, and they had been given an option. The employer wanted to start a voluntary scheme for them. And the other option was lunch. You'll be surprised that the employees actually picked lunch over a retirement benefit. So even when you're recruiting candidates currently, that's not a top thing that they consider. So I don't know what advice you would have. As you were speaking, you were also talking about your regrets as you worked. You talked about how you wished you had actually continued contributing to NSSF. But in the workspace right now, people feel like they're forced. Even when you have a voluntary scheme, employees will refuse. They'll be like, but you're forcing us. We already have NSSF. It's enough. So how can we change that mindset so that we don't have a burden in the future of having the retired people then heavily depending on the people that are working? I don't know, Apollo, if we have a microphone. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that question. First of all, I don't want to do an advert for ICA, but I've been a member of their various funds. I did that. It's an endowment with benefits. I did it for 10 years. A young person right now who is not bothered about pension, that's fine. Go to Jubilee, go Prudential, Old Mutual, ICA. They have these very, very interesting saving plans. And the beauty with them is that you put money there, and then you're guaranteed a huge lump sum. So banks now have quite a number of products. There is a Kwanjula plan, there is all sorts of financial products that are about your lifestyle. So if you're 25 and maybe you want to buy property at 30, yeah, I think it's easier for you to plan for that lifetime as opposed to worrying about retirement at 60. So you go to ICEA or any of these insurance companies and then talk to them about a fund or a premium or a policy where you contribute so much money on a regular basis and there's a guaranteed payout. So in 5 years or so, there'll be a payout equivalent to so much money. And in the unlikely event, and you'll die, but if you're 25, what are you dying of unless you're just. You will get money. So maybe pension and retirement may sound a bit too far away. My advice is that start now. You need to save. Don't ask me why should I save, because you just save for the reason that you're going to live long and you need to have some money at some point. But you can actually have short milestones. And I like that particular policy. I did it in 2011, so many years ago. Then in 2021, in the middle of lockdown, I get a call and they tell me 10-year policy is matured and, bring back your documents, blah, 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 blah. That building, you look at that flyer that I've shared with you guys. The man I used to do that property came from that policy. A lot of money. And with me, I get very uncomfortable with having so much money. I want to do it into something so that it benefits future generations. ICA in particular are people that have been with I didn't mention, by the way, and Apollo, forgive me for forgetting that. I have a school in Masaka for children with disabilities, in particular hearing impairments, deaf. And they are also partners in that project. And they sponsor it's a school I've been running for 18 years, 2005. Yeah, 18 years now. And you need to come and visit, because a lot of us here have perceptions about disabilities and in particular stigma, but they've been very, very supportive. But for me personally, I've benefited from numerous short-term policies. So the answer is, please, if pension and retirement is not your thing, set yourself something a bit shorter. Maybe buying property in 5 years from now. So you saving it on a monthly basis can be a bit of a challenge. But if you open a policy where you contribute 500,000 shillings every month for 5 years, and then they invest it on your behalf, and then they give you a guaranteed payout of 25 million or 30 million, that would be a nice tidy lump sum, which you can then go to with housing finance or DFCU and get a mortgage. The power of compounding. Let me give you an example. I was reading a book and it had a question that if somebody told you that they give you 1 million shillings today, as opposed to giving you 1 shilling, which is going to double every day for 1 year, what would you take? Chances are that you will take the 1 million shilling because you start visualizing that 1 million shilling and what you can do with it. But the truth of the matter, and there are so many, there's a CFA here and there are so many other very smart people, and anybody can run this on their spreadsheet. 1 shilling, so 1 shilling or 1 cent, every day doubling for 365 years, 365 days would be 5.2 million shillings. That is the power of compounding. So if you don't have a reason to save, just save because you plan to live longer, and there's no social security in this country. And whenever you say government yetuyambe, honestly, you don't want to reach the age of 45, 50, and you're saying government yekuyambe when you've been working for the last 30 years. It will be an embarrassment, it will be a shame, and in fact, you'll die very soon after that. Maybe that should give you reason to save.
Thank you so much, Francis. So we'll move back to Ibrahim. So sometimes people get to retirement and they're asset rich and cash poor. So someone has really invested. I think someone talked about having plots of land in all Sazas of Kampala, but they don't have any stream of income. How can we counter that challenge in retirement or as we prepare to retire?
All right, thank you. So people shouldn't think about retirement in isolation broadly, that retirement is its own different goal, different from all your wealth goals. Even if you're young, the easiest way to grow your money is by having wealth goals. Clear wealth goals. Is that at 25, I want to be like this, at 30, I want to be like this, at 45. Because when it comes to goals, they are easy to relate with. For instance, you may set a goal, I want to have a home in 5 years. I want to have own this in 10 years. They are easy to relate with. So to just add on, the issue is that wealth goals are better. I always think so, because they are relatable with, and they also, you can easily tell I've missed it. Do I make sense? That I missed a goal and I need to do something different about the goal. Now, the issue of being asset rich against cash, being short of cash. Well, it's true that most likely in retirement, you need more cash or cash sources than you've needed in your working life. Because the assumption is here that during your working life, you were earning salary that was quite sizable as a source of cash than retirement. But to be honest with you, if you've been working hard towards building wealth, by the time you retire, you should have more money coming out of your investments than your job. That is a given. That should be the goal. Because if at all you're going to get NSSF at that time and hope that the NSSF and perhaps your employer scheme, if it's there, for some employers it is there, is going to be the one to help you to create the cash base, you're wrong. Because one, you don't have the experience of creating wealth. It's quite very important that that's own experience. Creating wealth is a skill that is earned by practicing and failing, and then you practice more and you perfect and perfect and perfect. So if at the time you're 55 and you get 100 million from NSSF, and honestly that's the first time you've ever gotten such a big chunk of cash, I bet you the likelihood you're going to fail with it is higher than you're going to succeed with it. It's very, very much higher. Because the emotion itself could overwhelm you that I have 100 million. For all of us, it would be $1 billion for you, or it could be 10 for some people. Usually that money is the biggest you've ever received in a lump sum. Usually it's the biggest you've ever received in a lump sum. And the emotion itself it will overwhelm you. Apollo should share with you research that they do that shows that on average, actually, women tend to use the money better than the gentlemen. Perhaps they manage the money emotion better than the gents. Perhaps. So, for starters, is that you must have enough wealth at that time when you're retiring, more than cash from your investments, more than the cash from work. But anyway, how do we create cash? How do we create cash? Basically by investing in assets that create a lot of cash. There are two broad ones that are very common. The first one are the bonds. Basically you lend money mostly in Uganda to government. Government guarantees you that they will never default. So if you're retiring and you have this huge home, you could do that. You go and visit a financial expert. They take you through the process. Don't do it yourself. Don't go to the bank also. I advise you not to walk to the bank today. And I'll say this with a lot of confidence, that most bankers do not understand how retirement products work. You move to a financial advisor, like the insurance companies they are talking about, and you tell them, I have a property here, and I want to learn retirement. Then they'll tell you, look, sell it, or do this. Once you sell it, then bring the money to us. They'll help you. Or if it's too much wealth, buy a bond. If you have prepared quite early, that's when things like rental houses come in place. Things that transition you from assets that are big in value but shy of cash to things that move you into cash. Now, that's also dependent. If you're so wealthy again, Yeah, for people who are so wealthy. And I mean by wealth is that you have quite enough assets compared to what you need. It's not a must that you must cash. No. It's not a must that you must cash. Mr. Kamlege here has built a school. He has not cashed. That's not cash. Yes, he's getting cash, but the biggest part of the investment is the investment in the school itself. Do I make sense? So there are many stages. I wish all of us, by the time we are getting retirement, you've first of all learned about how assets work, how monies work, how you invest money, how you deal with money. And that is a journey built by investing, learning, and failing. You've also built relationships about people who help you to manage the money. Yeah? You've spoken to people like at NSSF, you've spoken to insurance companies. Do not over-rely on the bankers. And I say this with a lot of confidence. They are not very knowledgeable about how your retirement needs will have to behave. They will sell to you products that they are selling for their institutions. Even when you go to an insurance company as well, consult an independent person. There are many people in the market these days. Come to NSSF, for instance. NSSF will refer you to someone to give you some bit of basic guidance about how you need to manage your wealth in the time of retirement. Thank you.
Thank you, Ibrahim. We are moving towards the end. So I would like to move on to Vincent. So we have a large population that is self-employed, even many of us in employment. You join employment and you're like, my ultimate goal is I want to be self-employed. Many people feel like that's the ultimate that they want. But also until recently, NSSF only required people, organizations with 4 and above to contribute. So there are a number of people who are working, but they're not formally contributing anything for retirement. And even if you're self-employed, at some point your energy will go down. You won't be able to supervise your business the way you were doing it when you had a lot more energy. So how can people who are self-employed be able to prepare themselves? Because even them, they will have a point of transition, even if they are not being retired formally from a job. How can they prepare themselves?
Thank you very much. I think, again, when I started Avat Housing Limited in 2006, I spent 5 years without really a salary. So it was going home. I think I was a bit ambitious. I finished my first degree at 2004, 2006, I graduated with a second degree. The same year, I'm wedding and married officially. And I'm starting a company at the same time. So I was there, a husband, going to the street, coming back every evening with no kavera. And running Avat Housing Limited, very passionate, wanting to solve housing problems in the country, making sure the work goes on. So I was out of savings for 5 years. And then, again, what came with that afterwards is the issue of, yes, now the business is working, I'm starting to get an administrator in the office who now answers my phone calls. Because before that, I was moving with a fixed phone call. Do you remember these MTN fixed lines with a wire? So I would go with it in my rucksack. And when it would ring, wherever I am in a taxi, I would say, Avat Housing Limited, good afternoon. And people would think that guy is working in office because it's a fixed line. So now I get an administrator in the office who now picks the phone and says, my boss is not around, he's in the field. When he comes, I will let him know. Now, that staff had to be on a salary first. Then I moved to the second staff. Then I moved to the third that time, and then they had to go to NSSF before me. So if I look at my story, the staff went to NSSF before me, and they got salary before me. So it is now when we are about 40 people working that I join also NSSF afterwards. But why I'm saying that is I had to make sure that over a period of time, I'm also in NSSF, because you have to make that plan. The company is making cash flows, you're building. I would like to encourage everyone here to read a book called Build to Sell. How do you build a business for selling? Most of us, the challenge we have is we go into investments, especially business, because it's an option. You can go and do money into your bonds. You can go treasury bills, you can do anything you want, but business is also an investment option. Build to sell. When you read the book Build to Sell, you are building a business for selling afterwards. Now, what that tells you is what must you do to ensure that if tomorrow you were to advertise your business for selling, what should you have done right? I can assure you that thing helped me. Because there are many people who are saying they have businesses, but they are not profit making. And they are not worthy of selling. Or you talk to someone today, you say, can I buy your business? How much value is it? And someone can never tell you. Now, once you reach that mark, whereby if someone asks you, how much is your business? If I were to buy it from you, and you cannot attach a value, then you know it's like going to Toyota, and you ask them, I want to buy your car, and they cannot tell the price for that car. So if we build businesses for selling, we are likely to succeed. You remember the 95% failure? It is all brought up because we get our money, we save, we dump it into business because we are passionate, but does it work at the end of the day? So answering you again, we need to make sure that we build a business for selling, because I can assure you today, I know the value of my business. And if I sold it today, maybe I tell you that story, because with the other day we calculated. If I looked at the money I have earned for 16 years, and I look at the value of the business today, I should have earned 10 million shillings per month since 2006 when I started to get the value of my business today. So isn't that a good investment? Because if I sold the company today to another company, the money I get from there and I go home is equivalent to if I earned 10 million shillings per month since I started it. So in Europe, there are those people who start businesses and just sell them. And I think that's what is causing us problems in Uganda, to have that death rate. So you find people having businesses, but actually they are not sellable, they are just not making money. So I think also the savers from NSSF, as we transition, if you are going to say, I have gotten my 45 million shillings, let me go and start a chicken project. Go for it full swing as a business, not as a part-time thing. The moment you go in part-time, you will suffer the 95% death rate like any other. That's what I would say. But you can sell a business and go for holiday. And that happens. I think Director Francis, you can tell me, people sell businesses and go. And they go for holiday and they have money enough to look after them in the rest of their retirement life. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Vincent. I have just a quote here from M.K. Soni: retire from work, but not from life. So I would like to hand back to Apollo. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Florence. You are not necessarily handing back. We are just taking an interlude and we want to open up to the questions from the audience. Thank you so much, Mr. Gaba. Thank you so much, Mr. Buya. Thank you so much, Florence. We have analyzed from what I pick in the audience. We have talked about the fixed income. We've talked about businesses. We've talked about annuity. We've talked about real estate, and all these are options. When we are beginning this, I told you why NSSF does this is to expose you to the options. You are poor if NSSF is your only option. I want to open up a conversation to the audience, and we'll take about 2 or 3 or 4 questions. If you can write. The team, Anna, please, and the team can stand up. Anyone you see in the NSSF branded shirt, that's one of the benefits of employment. We get to have clothes. Yeah, they never wake up and say, what am I wearing today? No, you are fully covered. So anyone you see in the brand, you have already clothed them, you know it's your money. Yeah, just hand them the question. We also have a microphone. You can share your question via microphone. I will also invite Jubilee to add another option. We have also, Jubilee to add another question. I would also ask Peter to be near in case a question comes around voluntary. So ladies and gentlemen, today we have exposed you to the NSSF options, the real estate options. We've exposed you to the annuity option, the fixed income option, business option, and would love to hear from you. We have the people in employment, the people who have transitioned from employment. So let's use these last 20 minutes to hear from them. What's your question? Just put up your hand and the microphone is going to come to you. Jubilee, please come forward. You also explain another option. And then you also stay near so that people can ask you about that option. Anything you have to ask about the NSSF voluntary, businesses as an option for retirement, fixed income, voluntary, or even NSSF operations. This is the time when we take these questions. You can write and then give the paper to any of these ladies or gentlemen. Anyone? Anna Maria, just in front of you. Just in front of you, yes.
Yes, good morning. Thank you so much. I'm called Muhammad Sekandi. I work with Uganda Bureau of Statistics as a human resource assistant. And I also do juice, which is called Hamnail juice, and I also have Ashers. When we were doing training for staff, she was right that normally we do not focus on the retirement side. It is just a hint. And me as a person, I'm supposed to plan for myself. But as an HR, I'm supposed to think for my people. I understand that the foundation of NSSF was to help civil servants or those other people to ensure that when they retire, they have something. And one of the most challenge we have right now, given the background of where I work, sometimes people retire without land. And when you give them money, that's when they are beginning to construct. Now, my submission is, can we have a policy just like NSSF whereby it is mandatory to join the real estate services? Or like, can we develop a policy which can help our people to say, instead of giving you interest, for those who want, we can give you land. Oh, and you start constructing as early as possible. This is on my perspective of as an HR. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I don't know where to direct that, but let's note it. Any other? Yes, the gentleman right next to you. Then there is roofings.
Thank you. I'm Jonan Boire. I work in Chambogo College. I'm also director of Mugwe Safaris. I also do real estate. I have a question to ICEA. You talked about annuity, but you did not tell us more about it. Right now I have some people on my desk who are retiring from government and they are expecting to get some money. And they are asking, what do we do? How much money can someone start with in annuity to get some salary? If you can put more light on that, I'll be grateful. Thank you.
Thank you so much. There are also two questions here, and these will be for Geoffrey to answer. Explain more about the NSSF housing option and how I can benefit from it. Can I use my NSSF as security for property? Those are going to be. Davina, kindly come on to tell us about an option with Jubilee. What options do you have? Then I can open up this for the, kindly.
Thank you, Apollo. Good morning to you all. My name is Katusi Medana Davina, and I'm the pensions manager at Jubilee Life. Apollo, how many minutes are you giving me? 3. Okay. At Jubilee Life, we have 4 pension products, and I've come with my colleagues behind. since they've given me only 3 minutes, I may not go through them all. But I'm here to talk about one product, and it's a new product on board. It's called Income Drawdown Plan, or Retire in Style. And the reason why we have come up with that product is we want people to live a stress-free life in retirement. So our product, the Retire in Style, is a product for everyone. As long as you're 20 and above and you have a lump sum, you can come to us. And if you give us a lump sum, this is May, you start earning regular income the following month. So it depends on the category you choose. I will ask the gentleman, I don't know whether I call him DJ, to give me one slide. How do I call him? DJ. Okay. I don't know how to call you. As we agreed, please give me one slide. So this product is for everyone. Like I told you, if you're expecting your NSSF coming through, you won't miss out on salary. We give you income according to your lump sum. And it attracts an interest rate of 12% per annum. So as I wait for my calculator, okay. Okay, maybe I can talk through it as I wait for the calculator to come through. So as long as you have a lump sum, we can give you money on a regular basis. We make a quotation for you. You choose according to what you want, depending on your needs at home or whatever you're doing. So we want to ensure that at least don't use your lump sum, use your profit to do what you want to do. Don't use this money, your retirement money, to, like they've been saying here, to buy land, put up a retirement home. At least we want to make sure that you use your interest. And then at the end of the period, we will be able to give you a lump sum, even after giving you the regular income. So I wanted to show you how it works.
I think as DJ gets to do his thing, we will allow Davina to sit over here and we answer to some of these questions, then they will come over. Thank you, Davina. Just don't go away. Just let's have someone answer some other questions. So as she concludes and you see that calculation. DJ, are you able to show it now? He needs a little bit of time. Thank you so much. Oh, it's here.
It has come.
It's here.
Okay, I did this for someone who is 55 years. And this is for 500 million. So if you're getting 500 million from, I don't know where, from NSSF, from your land, from your business. So when you come to Jubil, you can choose an option of either 5 years or 10 years, depending on your age. Of course, the more years, the more interest. So if you choose the first category or recommended package, so here we will give you 4.6 million per month for a period of 10 years. And that will be, if you count 4.6 times 10 times 12, so that means after 10 years, we would have given you 552 million. Remember, you gave us 500 billion. So in the 10th year, we shall give you a lump sum of 428 million. I hope we are clear. then that means the total payout we are giving you is 980 million, almost a billion. And the total, the projection gains, we can call it bonus or interest, we are giving you in 10 years is 480 million. So it's like you're giving us 500 million and we give you more than 500 million. Thank you so much. I am around. We can discuss more. They've only given me 3 minutes. And I said we have 4 pension products. So please don't go. We can discuss more in detail. Thank you so much. If you have any question, I'm still here to answer about the DJ.
Thank you so
I've
much.
already removed. Okay, in case you have a question, I'm around. I'm not going anywhere. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Davina. Thank you so much. The Jubilee team, one of the things we are trying to create is we are trying to finish this earlier so that you can have time to interact with all the various service providers. Peter, someone move a microphone to Peter. He has a few questions also to answer. Allow me to invite Florence to respond to the question of annuity. Then I will go to Peter. Someone moves the microphone to Peter to respond to the question about voluntary. We'll move to then Geoffrey here. He has 3 questions. And then we'll get back to this gentleman.
Okay, I've been asked to throw more light on the annuity plan, so I'm going to break it down. So an annuity plan is a product that's designed for people who are approaching retirement. When I say approaching, means the product actually serves you in retirement, but you purchase it right as you enter into retirement. So how does the product work? You have a lump sum of money that you've accumulated through your working life. You bring the money to the insurance company. So some of the determinants of what you will earn on a monthly basis will be your age, and we also have what we call a guarantee period, because some people might fear that you may die too early after retirement. So someone may ask you, if I bring 200 million and you've only paid me for 2 months, what happens to the rest of my money? So we have what we call a guarantee period. That period is the minimum period of time that we can pay you from the time you purchase the annuity plan. So that means even if you died before that period expires, we shall pay your family until that period ends. But as long as you're alive, the product pays you a monthly salary for all your life. The product has a medical insurance benefit and a funeral cover. So the starting age is 50 and upwards. If you're 50 and upwards, then you can bring a lump sum to the company. We give you a quotation, and then you start earning every month. Every month. I don't know if I've clarified in terms of how it works. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. You've clarified, and I think there are more questions now than answers. Peter,
Yes,
for
Mr.
NSSF voluntary savings, when do I qualify or eligible to request for it? It's my voluntary savings.
Okay, let me just give a background of the voluntary saving. So, like we said, this is a product for you as an individual. We are proud as the fund that you are able to say my mandatory saving is the biggest investment I've had after a period. And we also want to mirror your individual savings to be as close as your mandatory saving. And the good thing is you have the power to do that. You can save as low as 5,000, but be consistent for as many times as you want to save. We are giving you all platforms for you to save. And we want to evolve with you on the journey, which we are calling Smart Life. So you'll be hearing a lot from NSSF, Smart Life. Basically, Smart Life is the journey of the member. We evolve with you with your needs. We are in the process of product development. We shall develop products that are tailored to your needs and to your goals. So let me give an example. You may say, you have been talking about land. The gentleman said, okay, you have a target and say in the next 5 years, I want to have land. We want to have that conversation with you as NSSF. Yes, you are a member of NSSF, you are employed under a big employer, but like we said, those are just your titles. At the end of the day, it is Peter So the conversation we are now going to have with you, and that's why we are having a financial literacy, having some of these engagements to pick your ideas, to pick your needs. So the question was, when do I get your money? With the new amendments, they give NSSF an opportunity to create products. So we are in the process. I think Geoffrey, when he has a chance to speak, he will talk about regulations and amendments, the guidelines we need to give you that product. But currently, you can still grow your savings, your mandatory savings, but as an individual. Any of these relationship managers here can even be able to support you right from now and be able to grow your savings on your mandatory account. We looked at the calculations and they were showing you that if you just increase your monthly contribution by a small figure, by compound interest, this will grow by a bigger margin. So those are conversations we need to have with you, and we can have a number of engagements after here. The discussion can go on in your companies, through your relationship managers. If you can visit the nearest branch, if you can send that email. I've seen some emails coming through. Just send your question voluntary@nssfug.org, and we shall be able to support you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Peter. I would love to move to Geoffrey. He has also received quite a number of questions. And this is a surprise. They are not as tough as I expected. We held him here because we expected the tough questions, but Geoffrey, you could respond to those ones.
Thank you, Apollo. So Peter, first of all, did ask that I compliment on the voluntary side of the business. Now, the key thing that we're trying to do for the voluntary saver is what we call flexibility. That today, when you're saving through your employer, the benefits that you're entitled to are defined by law. And they are largely related to age. 55 years of age, 50 years of age. What your voluntary savings will be able to offer you is flexibility. That you will choose, most likely for how long you want to save. What the fund will define is the minimum period. We could say that the minimum is 3 years, but you can choose to open up an account for which you want to save for 5 years. At the expiry of the period that you chose, you could then gain access to whatever balance it is that you hold. So the key thing around voluntary will be flexibility, okay? But the questions that came to me are largely around the area of real estate, and I'll answer them 3 in 1. So someone says, can NSSF build houses that we can move into when we retire, and then we can use part of our savings to pay? Then someone says, can I use my NSSF fund as security for a property loan? And finally, explain more about the NSSF housing options and how it benefits the members. Now, in terms of housing options, we don't build specifically for the member. We build for the general public. Our obligation to you, the member, is to give you a return that is competitive. So we'll undertake investments that make it possible for us to give you a return that is good. So when we build houses, our target right now is not just you, the member, but the market. So people that can afford to buy these houses at a price that guarantees a member a return that is decent. So we're not building specifically for just the member. But even if we are to build for just the member, the other key thing is that not every member of the fund can afford a house. I mean, let's also be completely honest, that more than 90% of the members of NSSF hold a balance of less than 50 million shillings. Only about 7% of the people that save with NSSF have 50 million and above. What that shows you is that even when you try to seek opportunities for something that is close to affordable housing, not a significant percentage of your members can actually afford the house. But at least what you can do for them is to invest their money judiciously, and you give them a return that is reasonable. Whether you can use your money as security for a property is not possible within the NSSF Act at the moment. But sometime last year, the regulator, UBRA, issued guidelines that would enable members of different schemes to use up to 50% of their savings as security. NSSF is unable to implement those because they contradict some provisions within the NSSF Act, which make it impossible for anyone to attach your savings. So at the moment, that cannot actually happen. But the key thing for us is that even if we had to build houses for members, we can't build enough houses to give every member. But most likely, even if that were possible, it would significantly impact the return, because real estate may not give you, in the short term, a return that is as competitive. So it's sort of a balance. Do members want us to build for them houses, or do members want us to invest for them so well that we guarantee them a certain reasonable return? So I hope that gives a bit of light on the issue of housing. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Geoffrey. There is one more about refugees working in Uganda.
Refugees working in Uganda, can I apply for my savings from NSSF, and how long does that take? So if you are a refugee employed and working in Uganda, two ways. One, as and when you qualify for your benefit, just like any other person, you'd be eligible. It could be age benefit, even if you're still here, okay? But if you are leaving Uganda, let's imagine you left your country because of insecurity, you're now based in Uganda and working in Uganda, and your country gets a bit more stable and you're going back home, you'd be eligible to apply and access your savings as and when you're returning back home. Now, on average, it will take you not more than 15 days to get your money, especially if all your paperwork is actually in order. So yes, you can apply for any other type of benefit if you qualify, or you can apply at the point when you're leaving the country. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Geoffrey. We are coming to the end of this, and I would want to take one more round of the gentlemen here are going to give their closing remarks. But before they bring in their closing remarks, I would like to throw the question of HR. I'm going to throw it to, I am being adventurous here. I'm throwing it to Ibrahim. The gentleman from Ubos said, why isn't there a policy purposely to make, I don't know, he used the word, to ensure everyone gets a house or gets into real estate early in life? I don't know what you would want, if you could throw something around there.
Well, thank you so much, Apollo. Our policy is quite, I don't know what government would pass that one, but I think ideally almost everyone at least is born with one asset on average, usually, I'm not saying all the time, and that's land. Normally, traditionally, our parents have always given us land. Yesterday, I was with a friend in a car, and he showed me his parents' home. So I told him, your parents are way richer than you, and he's 40-something. I told him, your parents seem to be way richer than you. What will you do when they pass on? How many of you will fight for this property? Because it's a very, very prime property. Anyway, to be direct, try and be direct to his question, is that these policies that are put in place are intended ideally to smoothen people's lives at retirement. People have different tastes. As he's asking the gentleman from Ubos that maybe the staff there may need land, you may find others want a business, like a school. You may find other staff have different sorts of ideas. So the ideas are very varied. So what we do, like at NSSF, is try and grow your money as much as we can in terms of cash. And when you retire, you're given the cash, and then you pursue your own options thereafter. If we were to fix people on a single asset and say, let's try to put a policy where Ugandans either buy bonds, where Ugandans buy shares of companies, where Ugandans buy land, where Ugandans buy houses, would actually overly limit them. There's no country I know of which has limited avenues where people can invest their savings or where what they can do with their savings. That freedom at retirement is very, very important. I think what is very important is you try as much as you can to grow this pot, yeah? Grow it so big at various places, as they are mentioning to you. Grow at NSSF, grow in the insurance company, grow within your own direct savings, like such as investing in property yourself directly, in many, many farms and many avenues, so that by the time you're retiring, you have the huge purse to spread around into things that you're passionate about. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Kindly also use this to make any remarks, your last remarks.
Thank you so much. I will just focus on 2 points. The first one is that saving money and growing wealth is a journey. It doesn't happen at once. Unfortunately, that's the perception. It's a journey, and I want to emphasize, and as a practitioner who has had the chance to manage your money, is that it actually takes time to learn it. Whether someone is managing your money for you, whether someone is doing it, you're paying them to do it for you, you need to understand how it works. And therefore, try it out. Yeah? Do small things, take baby steps. Buy some shares of companies. Buy some property. Invest in a small farm. Do things you're very passionate about. Do things that you love. Do things that when they fail, you would want to see them succeed. So passion is very, very important. Pursue things that you're passionate about, but when they are profitable. Wrong passion that doesn't bring in money will not help you. So do things that you love, but will create wealth for you because you will fight for them. The second thing I'd love to say, and it's the last one, is that seek advice. Seek investment and financial advice. Let me tell you that whoever is coming to you, and I'm going to be brutal here, to sell to you something, perhaps if you say, if this doesn't work for you, they will say, I have this. If this doesn't work, they will say, I have this. Sometimes, they may not have enough options. But if you get guidance on what you want, what is that I want? What am I looking for? There are many homes to get it. Yeah? Once you know what you want to have, there are many homes to find it. And that guidance will come from someone who knows about that particular family of ideas. You have doctors who guide you on your wealth. You have teachers who mentor your children at home. You have all different kinds of professionals, including barbers who look after your hair, who helps you on your money, who helps you on growing your wealth, who is helping you on how you need to look in 10 years in terms of wealth, those steps you're taking. Please take this opportunity that you have, let's say with NSSF, with these insurance companies, with various financial service providers in the market, including bankers, including brokers of assets, many, many fund managers, to build relationships that will be valuable to you. At least at any point in time or after you've left here, I would be happy if each of you has developed a relationship with someone who knows about finance. So with those few remarks, I wish you a decent journey of wealth creation, where you grow your wealth, and I hope me and you and all of us here perhaps grow the wealth to the extent that we are very happy in retirement and we are proud grandparents. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I pick the one key, who helps you with your wealth? Of course, we also have pastors for our spirituality, but who helps you with your wealth? Most times we found that the pastors are doing everything.
Good morning. Allow me, Mr. Gaba, your parting shots.
No, thank you very much, Apollo. I think when I was listening, it is clear that housing is at the center of our hearts, and everyone works entirely their whole life, and the dream is to own a home. And after home, then to invest in other homes that makes for us cash flows. So we cannot put that under the carpet, and I thank NSSF. I want also to clearly try to talk about what Mr. Geoffrey said. There is a perception in the public that NSSF should build houses for the public. That is not the job of NSSF. NSSF is supposed to grow members' savings, and they invest in real estate to create that return that makes sense for the savings of the members. So the idea that NSSF, I heard all these stories about Lubowa project. Why is NSSF building those houses? Can members afford them? There we are off the topic. They are in the market, so they will go to that segment that makes money to ensure that the members' money get a return that it deserves. So the job of building houses for Ugandans is between me and you. We have National Housing and Construction Company. It is a government institution set up for that purpose. We have Housing Finance Bank that was set up for that purpose. But what we need to know that real estate is a long-term investment. We are not going to have affordable housing as a short-term investment. So having said that, I would like to give the following for me people to look out for. One, we need to look at population growth. I have statistics here. I didn't have a chance to present them. Next time I think I should do. Population is growing at a higher rate. We are 45 million Ugandans now. The urban expansion, the urbanization of the country is so high, and that is another area to look at. Then infrastructure development, I will give you an example. When they were talking about the expressway, you know there is Munyonyo Spa connecting to it, and all of us were saying our government projects, it will not come, you know, these things don't work. A live example, I went and bought 25 decimals in Chigo. There was no road. And today when you go to Chigo, after the expressway has gone through, I have my neighbor here. The land you bought from there, so infrastructure development is key for investors. If you want to invest in real estate, there is now what we call Jinza Expressway. Do we know where it is going to pass? Can you go there before it passes? Last which I want to mention is that location. You can get a house from Katanga and put it in Kololo. The value will go up. Don't change the structure. Pick a structure from Katanga, bring it and put it on the top of Kololo Hill and place it there. The rent will go. Pick a mansion from Kololo and take it to Katanga. The value will. So when you want to invest in real estate, location. I would rather have 25 decimals in Wandegea than having 20 miles of land in some part of the country. Should I mention it? Ladies and gentlemen, last is the feasibility study. Let us approach real estate as any other business. Do feasibility study. Mistil was here. People were building this Mistil and some people were saying, people have money to waste. And so is Arena. You see it there. People are saying, where these guys have money? They can't define wherever they... Or how can you put a mall in Nsambi? Who is going to buy things from there? Are you seeing what this road is doing? The interchange at the clock tower? Are you seeing how it is changing the whole of Arena area? Aren't we going to shop at Arena once that road is finished? Was the investor wrong in the short term? Yes. In the long term, is that investor going to be wrong? I don't know. So real estate is a very, very technical business. It is actually linked to finance and insurance. And remember, last but not least, it is the anchor of economic growth. Everything starts and ends and rotates around real estate. So we need investors. We need people who are going to go to real estate for investment and for making sure that Uganda becomes a beautiful country. If you fly coming from Dubai, the moment you cross the Indian Ocean, the other side you see all the lines in the houses, crossing roads, nice street lights running. When you start looking in the window as you slope down over southern Sudan, then you start seeing cobwebs of roads. That is our country, and we need to change it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Agaba. You mentioned an arena, and I don't want, not that I'm showing off, but I was part of the team of the investor. At least I carried the files when they were doing the feasibility study. So I am not a small one also. Florence, please, your parting remarks and make a clarification on annuities. There's another question that came in, then we can go to Geoffrey.
Okay, thank you, Apollo. So I got some additional questions on annuity, and I just wanted to clarify. Someone was asking me whether they need to do medicals. I know people are used to doing medicals for life products. No, you do not need to do medicals, and there's no age limit. So minimum age is 50. Anyone from 50 upwards, you're in the retirement age group, you can take an annuity. Then I also remember Jonan had asked about the minimum amount. For as low as 30 million, you can actually come and buy an annuity plan, and you'll get a pay for the rest of your life. In addition to that, we also do pre-retirement advisory. If you're HR or you would like to, you said you have a team of people that are near retirement, feel free to invite us. We do pre-retirement advisory. It's free of charge. We also do financial literacy. If you need to get to know about our products for your staff, for your members, you can feel free to contact us. Those are services that we do offer. Yeah, then in terms of parting shots, just to appreciate NSSF for organizing this forum. I feel like we have more information in these days than then. Many times when you're talking to clients, they're like, where have you been? I wish I had this information at 30 years, at 25. Many people feel like they are so late, but I feel like right now the information is more and it's available. And I've also been following a lot the NSSF initiatives. I think it's taking us to places in terms of creating awareness. So that's it from me. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Florence. A bigger hand clap. It's a lady. As Mr. Magezi makes his walk to the stage, Mr. Council Magezi, I would like to ask Geoffrey. He has received another round of questions to just respond to that. As Council Magezi, kindly walk to the stage.
Thank you, Apollo. First, I want to appreciate the panelists. Well done. Thank you. But I just want to make a comment to emphasize what Ibra said, even at the risk of sounding controversial. So I receive a number of people in my office, and many times they're seeking advice. And quite often, one of the persons that I refer to is actually Ibra. So I was interacting recently with a client who had over 1 billion shillings. And is among the many that I referred to Ibra and a few other people to advise. He retired. He had never built a house. So basically, he didn't have a house, but he had a home. Okay? Because real estate is not about you owning. You can also live comfortably in someone else's house. And perhaps, depending on your age, perhaps we all don't have to build houses. So with slightly over $1 billion, this person was contemplating between building their dream house, which they had never built when they were working. Now, their dream house, by the nature of this fellow, perhaps would cost him more than 500 million. So if you're retiring, would you get more than 500 million of your 1 billion to build a dream house in which you're most likely to live extremely poor, but the people that see you come out of that house think you're a rich person? But you yourself knows too well how broke you are. So after seeking advice, what this person decided was perhaps owning a house was never part of his dream now. So he put his money in a government bond, earning about 15% after tax. So basically he's guaranteed about 150 million shillings every year. That can be about 12.5 million every month. You know what he did? He remained in his upscale place in Kampala. He's paying about 2.5 million shillings in rent. But his 12.5 million is sufficient for him to continue paying rent in a decent area than him getting his entire savings to go and put up a house in Mukono. He stayed around Kampala in the place that he's used to. So the reason I stated that is that even when we speak real estate, probably we also need to appreciate that if there are certain dreams that you did not achieve at the right time, perhaps you're safer getting your money to create more money for you than putting it in brick and mortar and you're extremely broke for the rest of your life in retirement. So I thought that even when that may contradict what some people think, it's worth stating. The other questions that I've got to answer, one, why are there numerous bureaucratic tendencies to processing of NSSF retirement benefits? First of all, I want to state that those tendencies are there because they are indeed created for that purpose. What you call bureaucracy is because we define when you'll qualify. So if you come to us and you are 54 years of age and you're still working, we'll advise you that you still have 1 year, so please continue saving, which is specifically the purpose for which you are saving. I would like you to tell me that for me I qualify to access my money, I came and you've refused to pay me. Every time I challenge people, social media has changed things so much. If people were failing to get their money from NSSF, you'd be seeing a store on what? Social media every day. So the people that have failed to get their money today are people that don't qualify. I think Francis here says he got his what? His money. You know why? Because he qualified. But I think most of us, every time we face a challenge, we would like to find a way to get that money from NSSF. We see people whose children are sent home because of school fees, and they come to NSSF. Can I use part of my savings to pay school fees? We will not pay you, because that money was never meant to be used to meet your current expenditure of paying school fees for your children. That's why we are taking only 5%, so you can live on the rest of the money. So it is bureaucratic by design, that there are certain requirements that you must meet. Even if you go to the insurance world, there are certain rules in place. Even if you are saving, if you've got a policy for 10 years, you can't say, because my mother is sick, give me my money. There are certain things that are put in place because that's the design of the scheme. The other questions, what available avenues do you have for a member to access their money before they retire? Again, people want to find ways to get it out before they retire. I mean, the greatest percentage of people that we pay are people that have attained the retirement age. 55 years of age if you're still working, 50 years of age if you're no longer in gainful employment. Of course, along the years, certain modifications happen. That on medical grounds, you can access your money regardless of your age. But we now even have the famous mid-term access, where you are paid 20% of your savings at 45 years of age if you contributed for 10 years. If you follow trends, I think it's only in Africa and maybe more in Uganda, where we are struggling to even reduce the age at which you begin to access your money. The global trend is that people are actually increasing the age. In France today, there have been demonstrations. You know why? because the government was increasing the age at which people can access pension from 62 to 64. And you know why they're doing that? People are living longer. And people are still healthy enough to actively continue in employment at that age. But that fact of living longer is also true for Ugandans. So yes, there are other mid-term ways of accessing this money, but the question would be, are you accessing it simply because you qualify for mid-term or because you figured out how to apply that money? If you qualify for mid-term access and the investment that you want to undertake cannot give you the return that NSSF would have given you on that portion of money, perhaps you need to continue leaving it there. But if you can take away your mid-term and you have an opportunity to invest in something that guarantees you even a higher return, then you are putting it in safer hands. Then finally, why doesn't NSSF build capacity to follow up with its members? That is, members lose jobs, some members have died, some employers are not paying. Do you know that you have people's money? These people died and their children are on the streets. So, not entirely true, but can also be a bit true. And it's a challenge not just for NSSF. Let me talk about death. You know that we've got an institution called NIRA, right? But NIRA is very new. NIRA, I think, is less than 10 years of age, okay? Most countries had the equivalent of NIRA from the 1960s, the 1940s. What that does for a country is that even when someone dies, the system knows. The way we've been operating in Uganda, especially as NSSF, when we enroll you as a member and you're saving and you stop working, so you are no longer actively saving, but we still have your money, we've never had a system that could even inform us that this member now passed on, because there was no NIRA. Today we are now building that capacity because we've integrated with NIRA, such that when NIRA issues a certificate of death, we can also be alerted to the fact that this person has actually died. Otherwise, it would be guesswork. We are now building that capacity. But I keep telling people that money that belongs to the dead is so sweet that it is almost impossible that someone doesn't turn up to claim that they are the children. At worst, your neighbor will turn up and say, that man was my father. Then that gives us a chance to go and verify, and we discover, oh, wait a minute, this is a neighbor. But then we get the actual children. But that responsibility doesn't rest with only NSSF. I think it is Francis who said it well. Share some of this critical information with your spouse. So imagine you are married, you're a man, and your wife has no idea that you have money with NSSF. Your children have no idea that you have money with NSSF. It is the same like you buying land, big chunks of land, and buying buildings, and your spouse doesn't know. You know what will happen when you die? Sometimes your friends know more of your assets than your spouse. So when you die, some of your friends that know these facts could sell off the things without your spouse knowing. So the responsibility for your spouse, for your children, to know that you have money in NSSF, you have money in the banks, you have money with insurance, that responsibility largely rests with you. Let's not be in the habit of hiding. You know, the thing of saying, this is mine and my spouse shouldn't know. Your spouse is your partner. If you've got loans, they need to know. If you've got assets, they need to know. So that responsibility rests on you. But we're also improving our systems to track changes better. We are improving our systems to track compliance better. Today we are fully integrated with the URA, so we can even tell if an employer is now paying payee, but they are not paying NSSF. We are integrated with the URSB. We can tell when a company comes on board. These systems over time should improve our capability as an institution to track things better. But above all, the biggest responsibility to share this information with your loved ones is your responsibility. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Geoffrey. The key word was responsibility. So in this world, we have responsibility, we have choices, we have obligations. Let's not confuse. Your health is your responsibility. Your shelter is your responsibility. Your food is your responsibility. I am tempted to say that even when you give government 30% of your monthly pay, they have no obligation towards your health, your shelter, your food. Your purpose is your responsibility and choice. Your children are your obligation. Can I repeat this? Your children are your obligation. So you're not doing them a favor taking them to school. Your parents are your responsibility. Your car, your choice. Your church, your choice. Your money, your obligation. Your benefits, your responsibility. Your former employer is your choice. Good morning. Allow me to invite Mr. Magezi to close us off. Ladies and gentlemen, we do this not just here. Today we are privileged that City Branch and Bugolobi Branch were kind enough to put you together. But sometimes in their schedule, they may not find the time to do that for us every year. But you at your workplace, you have the time and schedule, and you can do this for your employees. We are passionate about that. Let's come to your workplace and do this at your workplace. We are also passionate about those people who are 44, who are 54, and they are within a year of receiving their benefits. Let's put them in a class and let's just discuss this. Because as you've heard, these are your obligations, these are your responsibilities. Before we close, we can't close without having the closing remarks of the LC1 chairman. He's the host, so he's the LC1 chairman. We had one LC1 chairman, one Marilyn Open. So Mr. Magezi will close. Thank you so much for turning up. Thank you so much, the NSSF team. Thank you so much, Bugolobi. Thank you so much, City. Mr. Magezi, you will articulate this better.
Thank you so much.
Wow, 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 wow. May I invite the audience to give a round of applause to the moderator and the fantastic presenters. Mr. Buya, that was awesome, and you have done us justice. Thank you so much. That said, I can now begin. Allow me to appreciate staff that were able to help us have this event take place. Duncan, together with Sandra, spearheaded this, and for us, the rest of the teams, we are being coordinators, but the guys that did the real work was Duncan and Sandra. We thank you so much. We thank you so much, Duncan. That said, ladies and gentlemen, together with our staff, let us appreciate our customer, the purpose for which we are here. Can we give them a round of applause? Because I know we cannot take it for granted that you are in this conference. There are quite a number of options like we have been guided that you could have taken, but you chose to be part of this. Additionally, thank you for the contributions you are making for your employees, but also for yourselves. I know some of you directors, you pay for yourselves. Thank you so much for being part of the fund. That said, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to also elaborate why we are here. As two branches, specifically Bugolobi and City, this came as an idea again, and we thought it would be nice to serve over 50 companies in one room on one day, same time, and you can imagine what it has caused. This is amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. But you know what? We couldn't do this without the technocrats, the guys that are experts, especially in delivering our need. Two things: strategy, but also execution is the other. And I think execution is the best. So for us, we came up with an idea, shared it with Mr. Mboa Apollo, with his team, Anna Maria, Jackie, Aisha, and they have been able to identify for us, guess what? Presenters and moderators who have done us justice. Let us give them a round of applause. Mr. Kamregea, Mr. Gaba, Mr. Buya, they have not only spoken out of experience, but they have also demonstrated their knowledge. They have not only given examples, but they have given real and tangible personal experience. Imagine that guy who bought land at 1 million. It grew and he ended up selling at 35 million. Imagine this guy who traveled and was able to identify that he can change, he can transform the way our children can pray, not only at home, but also you take them out from home to a place. Thank you so much. We want to move from here to there. Thank you so much. Those are practical experiences. The topic now to you, FL. The topic was not only awesome, but the guests, but get what? The venue. You know, if it is also a bad venue, head of department is here, guests may not come. So keep identifying good venues so that the guests can also come and we afford them a decent and comfortable place like this one. The service was very nice, and thank you for the breakfast. Ladies and gentlemen, as I close, I also want to identify ourselves with our sister. We don't believe in competition, but some of these words are there. The Insurance of East Africa, thank you for being part of us, and Jubilee Insurance. We are very much honored. These guys will work together in the field. Now, that said, back to us, the audience. Using the analogy of the sower, the vast experience, the knowledge, the good words, the choice of words that has been ushered to us, the call to action is that let us portray ourselves as fertile soils that are going to multiply this seed to spill over the people that we have left behind. Thank you so much. My name is Moses Magezi. Good morning.
Thank you so much, Moses. Thank you so much, our guests. Thank you so much, our employers. Thank you so much, our members. With that said, please leave at leisure, but make sure you make contacts. We are happy to have these discussions on the sidelines. ICA is there, Voluntary is there, Jubilee is there, and I am here. Kindly, let's mingle. Thank you so much.